Hey, what's going on, everybody? Let me know how the audio is. First of all, I just want to make sure we get everything right. Sorry about the late start. I was just setting everything up, making sure we have no hiccups in the chain. If this is fuzzy, let me know. I'll switch to the um, other microphone for the MacBook. All right. So I'm gonna play this just while we get set up, and I want to say what's up to everybody in the chat. Thank you for your patience. Type in the chat if you can hear me clear, loud, clear. If it's not loud and clear, let me know what I'm doing wrong. Audio is good. Okay, good. Um, let's see. How's the cameras looking? Are the cameras looking good? Camera look good. You're all right. What's up, everybody? We finally got it figured out. All right. Audio is strong. Good, good. Not too loud, hopefully. Not too quiet, hopefully. We'll see when we get like guests joining in. Uh-oh. No, we don't want to sign in. I don't know why it's doing that. It's usually never doing that. I sent out the invite to the group chat. Did you get it? Hopefully. Check the group chat. Okay, it's there. All right, good. First of all, I just want to say thanks for coming out. This is a really cool thing I wanted to do. Figure why not, since I have these TVs right now. I'm reviewing them all. I thought this would be a fun thing to do. So we're gonna try different tests. It's not just gonna be these LG demos. It's just gonna start off like this. But once we get more people in and I get a guest, Max will be joining in about 15, 20 minutes or so. So it'll be easier to run the chat and stuff. We will be able to answer questions. So make sure you ask your questions and anything you have questions about, let me know. If you want, go ahead and guess which is which. I think that would be pretty fun. So, which TV is which? What do you guys think? Hold up. Let me make this full screen. So we do got Max. What's up, Max?
What's going on?
Yeah. Let me know how Max sounds with my audio. If not, we'll turn him down. I don't want any audio problems. So if you guys have any problems with the audio, let's fix it right away.
Yeah, let's do testing. Hopefully that sounds good.
Yeah, hopefully. So we're letting people guess which is which before I put them up on the screen. I thought that would be fun to do. And we got Classy in here as well. What's up, Classy?
I'm still working, so I'm gonna be in and out. But what
It's all good.
are these like in Filmmaker, or you have your own settings? Like, what did you do? Because the one that's looking the brightest right now is the one that probably shouldn't.
It's the G3.
No, the C3 is looking the brightest from what I'm seeing.
Okay. Yeah. So
Was that the one at the top left?
they are all
No.
in Filmmaker mode. But let me double check settings and stuff. So
Yeah, I just didn't know if like DTM was on or off or whatever.
it's possible. I did just check up the source, so let's check that really quickly. Here we'll go to this mode. Let me add you guys in real quick. Dynamic camera. There we go. Let's just do it like that.
Yeah, but
all right.
didn't
So
you already say which was which? Like
Did I
there's a few
say?
places where there's a
I
few
did.
places
I
where you
did
show
in a
how
few
much you switch.
places, but not everybody saw it, right? So
Oh, I thought the top left was the brightest.
let me
I don't
make
know
sure
that
all the
was
settings are correct.
I didn't know if that was like a G3 or S95C or
See, you know, I had to like label all my remotes so I didn't get mixed up.
Hmm.
Well, I labeled 2 of them just to make sure. Okay, so the S95C is good. Let's see. Let's check the G3 now. I'm just checking settings and everything here. And then yes, the G3 had the dynamic tone mapping on because they were using the default settings.
I'm gonna guess the C3 was as well.
Probably. I hate that they do that. Like, it'd be easier if they just turned it off for filmmaker mode, make it my job a lot easier.
Yeah, it's one of those things that now it's like technically Samsung's filmmaker, you don't touch anything. You just put it in filmmaker and it's gonna be technically more accurate than the LG's putting it in filmmaker if you don't
Yeah.
know to turn that off.
Ooh.
It's getting a bit ridiculous.
Wasn't it
Oh.
last year? It was the other way around, so that's kind of interesting. Or was it
So-
always
No,
like that
because
for LG?
LG always has DTM on in all their HDR modes, and they shouldn't. Like it's
So get-
fine if they do it on every other one, just on filmmaker it should be off.
Get this
Game
classy.
mode should be on HGIG by default, but it's not.
I'm about to switch
so-
headphones. My headphones I forgot to charge it.
Filmmaker mode is on all of them now. I'm gonna switch it up. So
And then don't forget, if you switch to SDR, you'll have to turn off the eco for filmmaker.
yep, it's off.
I mean, on the Samsung.
Yeah, it's off on all of them. We'll double check that though if we ever see the SDR looking weird. All right, here we are. So let me dial that in. Let's see what settings we're in here. Oh, you know what? I was in S-Log. My bad. Here, let's try this. You could actually use S-Log on here with the conversion thing because it's feeding it through the camera. Might not be a bad idea. That'll give me the most dynamic range, right? Like if I use a log.
Yep. Yeah, I saw the Atomos Ninja was $100 off, and then B&H had one open box for $329. I went to order it, and then it was gone as I went to order it.
Oh wow, nice.
Because then you can keep it in log with that as the monitor, which has HDMI out, and then you can load the LUTs onto the Atomos, and then it'll send the LUT image for the streams.
Yeah, that's cool. That'd be cool. That wouldn't be a bad idea, honestly. I eventually want to set it up so like I got OBS working and stuff because 1080p can only go so far, and then compression and all that.
Yeah, OBS is would be the better choice.
Yeah. So this was kind of fun to set up. Kind of took a while, but all right. So guess which is which. I wanted to see. Let's see what people got. I'm gonna scroll up and look at people's comments. Yeah, a couple people know already. But a lot of people are guessing, right? But I wonder if those are the cheaters. You guys cheating. All right, does the C3 still look brighter? Because it was actually not with dynamic tone mapping on.
I'd say they're looking pretty similar all around at this point, except the QN90C I can tell isn't quite as bright.
Yeah. You know, that's kind of a disappointment. Like, you would expect the QN90C to be like brighter, but like when you're
Not when
looking
it's
at
accurate,
it,
because now
you
it's
know,
actually accurate, so it's how it should be. Now, if you put it into a different mode and it's not trying to suppress itself to control blooming, then it would be brighter. But if you're about accuracy, then there's, an LCD is not going to be brighter.
mm-hmm.
Very,
So
very few scenes anyway.
yeah, I did notice that if you don't have the QN90C a little more controlled, you get more blooming. Like once you start to let it run
Yeah,
wild, you'll start to see a ton of blooming.
Yeah, that's what you could see in my review earlier with the QN90B. There was no way to make it completely accurate. So it was pushing a lot of areas and then blowing out highlights, clipping, and then doing that, it just exacerbated the blooming on it. With the C, it doesn't really do any of that as long as you keep it in its accurate mode. And then the blooming is very faint.
Yep. All right, so top left, G3, top right, S95C. All right, that's correct. All right, since people are getting it right, maybe they cheated. Let me just put it on the screen. There you go. Is there a way to make that not as obtrusive? There. That's better. Okay, let's adjust the camera a little bit higher. Lower? How about that? That's good, right? All right.
Yeah, it's good.
So let's go to some other demos. And then I'll be taking requests and stuff. We'll see what we can pull up. If I need to pull up anything like a movie or something and we do stills, I can always put up that waiting screen while I set it up. Start from the beginning where we're used to these demos here. See, they added new demos. This one is SDR though.
Yeah, the white room in the Matrix is probably like one of the few scenes where you would see the 90C getting brighter.
Yeah. So we'll try different modes out. Right now we're just going to try filmmaker mode, and let me fix my camera, guys. Hold up. So I'll pause it on certain scenes too, so we can kind of like observe the differences also. I'll tell you right now, like, we go to like the topic of diminishing returns, and I thought about that while I was setting these up last night and looking at them. You really start to run into these like diminishing returns with TVs at a certain point, at a certain price point, you know? Like it's like when you buy higher end audio gear or when you buy higher end pretty much anything, right? You're only paying for like a 5% increase, a 10% increase. You're never getting like what seems to be your money's worth out of it. You know what I'm saying?
The C3 is a little bit closer to the camera, right?
So the C3 and the QN90C are a little bit closer because they're on the other TVs are on a table, and I tried to scoot them to the edge as much as I could.
Yeah, just letting the chat know because
Yeah,
it's not that
they're
there's
all
a
the same
sharpness
size.
difference. It's just that it's not the size. It's going to appear a little bit more in focus because there's a little bit of a depth difference for the camera.
Oh yeah, true.
So depending on where your exposure is, it's going to change that depth of field. So your focus is going to change a little bit between them when there's a difference in how far they are from the camera.
Yeah, that's true. I can tell you right now from what I'm seeing, the brightest one in this scene is the G3. And the second brightest is probably the S95C, and then the third brightest is C3, and then the QN90C is last. But when it comes to colors, the C3 is definitely the last one. Like color brightness and stuff, you can see. But it does feel like the C3 has gotten some improvements over the C2. Because when I had the C2 next to the S95B last year, even like after the updates and stuff, it wasn't close like this. So I don't think there was like anything done with the actual brightness, but the processing seems like it's better. And they were talking about that you would still see a perceived brightness difference, and it's not just because of dynamic tone mapping on, it's just they are doing something with their brightness in the way that they're controlling ABL and stuff. It's more relaxed apparently. So I'd be curious to see, Classy, when you get the C3, if it measures much different than the C2 with the ABL in mind.
Well,
When
white
those
windows
bright
are pretty
scenes.
much the same. White windows are going to be pretty much the same as the C2. But the
Right.
question is, are they able to push the color brightness a little bit more? Are they, when they talk about their processing differences, that usually means with dynamic tone mapping on. So like, I'm sure if you were in, say, Cinema Home on a C2 and a C3, and you have dynamic tone mapping on, the C3 is going to be notably brighter because it's going to do that. But in Filmmaker, they should be basically the same, unless they are boosting up specific colors or whatever. But all that would have to be measured individually.
Yeah.
But the windowed, white windowed measurements that really don't mean anything,
right.
they're going to be the same.
So I'll bring you to this Sony demo real quick, where they're making the sword, and that's one of the ones where you can kind of see a good difference. So let me actually just pull up my phone for the search bar. That's gonna be easier. Where is it at?
While you was playing that demo, I was looking at it. And, I mean, over the stream, it looked like the G3 and S95C are pretty close. From the stream,
for
it looked
me,
like the brightness.
What I've been seeing with both of them calibrated, and even just both of them in their accurate settings before calibration, the S95C gets a hair brighter, especially in bright colors, in that setting. But if you do go to active tone mapping or Cinema Home with dynamic tone mapping, then the G3 is consistently brighter than the S95C in that type of setting. But the colors and the detail and stuff are still there with the S95C when you do that, where a lot of it gets clipped or lost on the G3. So it just depends on what your goal is.
Yep.
So, but I got to head out for a few and I'll be back.
All right.
All right.
No problem. Cool. So I'm looking for the sword maker demo so I can kind of show you one of the biggest things. Yeah, we're not going to be doing this the ads here, so I gotta switch when we do the ads. Otherwise they're going to be annoying about it. Last time I got docked for just showing an like an AirPod ad. I'm like, that's weird.
You're getting paid for it.
Yeah, I know. Like, what? It's a free ad. Why are you guys complaining?
Should be happy.
Right. Whoops. So let's see. Oh no. Hold on. All right. Are we good? We're back? We're back, right?
Yeah, I see. Yep.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I had to rearrange the things. So fire is a really good test of, color luminance, right? And I could tell you right now that the C3 is struggling the most here. You might be able to see it on camera. But again, camera is always going to be hard to tell. But I can tell you right now that the C3 is falling behind the most here. And the rest of them look pretty good. I'm actually really surprised with the way that the G3 looks. So we go to this whole thing about color boosting, right? And so like I'll go ahead and show you. We're still in this game mode, but we're on the optimizer. So like we switch to that, you are seeing the little drop off in color there. And it's really going to be noticeable in this scene, particularly here. When we get to this. So that's something that I want to make sure that it's in frame here. It's back here, I believe. Here we go. So here's a really good example of the difference here. And you can see that there's just that driving of the color a little bit more. So there's that. Let me go ahead and throw off the game optimizer here. Whoops, that's a personalized picture. Definitely not my personal, but so you can kind of see the effect there. There's some really good examples, when we get into Forza 2. And there's just a loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the C3 does that as well. And like that's what a lot of people are talking about with game mode. Can it be fixed? It's hard to say. But when they're on like this, you can see that the color's starting to turn white a little bit on the C3. Yeah, maybe you can't on camera.
I can see it a little bit.
I'll just have to explain it to you. So the C3 is turning a little bit white in the middle, and the G3 is a little bit orange in the middle, but you can see it's starting to get white just right in the middle. But on the S95C, you get orange in the middle there, and even on the QN90C, you get a little bit orange. So right now, the biggest struggle seems to be for the C3. And we'll see what happens when we switch it into game mode here. So you can see it loses a lot when we switch it into game mode. You see that on camera? The luminance just goes downhill. So you still have that with the C3, where in game mode you are going to lose color luminance as well. So it's not just the G3 that's using the color booster this year, it's also going to be the C3. So just wanted to call that out as a thing. And then we can see how much the G3 loses here when we go into game optimizer. As you can see, it is losing that color luminance there. So I think that's one of the things that people were really wanting to see on camera more. And so I wanted to give them that example. And we can go through the rest of this demo here. Let's replay this one from the start. And if you guys have questions, just leave them in the chat. You can also leave a super chat. That'll be the easiest way to get your question answered. But we'll try to answer all the questions we can. Feel free to grab any questions you want, Max, if you want to. I'm not able to look at chat as much because I'm controlling the camera, so I do apologize.
Let me grab this one. This is probably going to be a little difficult, but maybe you can answer this.
Sure.
Matthew message just said, yeah, I want to know, it does G2 basically look the same as a G3 on game mode? And
yeah, I would imagine they would look the same because I was comparing the C2 to the G. I was comparing the C3 to the G3 yesterday in game mode, and I only noticed like a little bit of a slight difference. The color was slightly better on the G3, but it wasn't anything that I would write home about. If you're going for gaming and you're going to be using game mode, I highly suggest an S95C if that's the biggest one you want. So yeah, that is
Ooh.
that is
Commercial.
something that I'm saying you should definitely look into.
Yeah, that's so people who do have G2s, the question is that do you think it's a noticeable upgrade if they go to a G3?
Right. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. So we're gonna play these LG demos for now, because they don't have ads on them, and that's why
Yeah,
we use them more so than anything else.
yeah, I'm using a Samsung one right now.
Yeah, the Samsung ones are good too. I believe they are an SDR though.
No, I got the AK one.
I think they're all in SDR, but
Oh,
my Apple TV will convert it to HDR anyway. So it's
oh
hard
yeah,
to
you're right.
know.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
It's SDR.
So, actually, I'm not sure if they have the match content working yet. I know before it wasn't for YouTube. I don't think it does. I have last year's version. Is it last year's version?
It has it.
The match content for YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was middle of last year when they did the firmware update because they did that big announcement on the news.
Yeah.
That they're finally doing it. Yeah. So looking at this, I say the G3 on this one. That specific steel.
Yeah. So like I'm gonna pause it here and just look at some examples because I think like comparing the still images are probably the best way to do it on stream since it's not moving, it's not gonna be super compressed. It's hard to see it as well, but I'll be able to break things down a little bit better. As far as what you guys are seeing, I think pretty much the camera's getting it close to what you guys are seeing. I would say the white balance isn't 100% right on what you guys are seeing, but that's just again how the camera picks up the different types of TVs. But I try to get it as close as possible, and I think I got it close to what I'm seeing. So if you guys make sure that you're in 1080p on the stream and then enlarge the screen as much as possible so we can dig into some details. You know, in terms of like how bright do things look to your eyes, when you have them in these modes, when you use filmmaker mode, if you're somebody that uses filmmaker mode, going after the best TV possible isn't always going to give you like super gains, you know? So that's just something that's interesting to note. The C3 is pretty impressive so far, but you will notice that it does suffer sometimes when we get to those higher color brightnesses, things like that. But it's a lot more surprising than I thought. It's closer to the G3 than I thought it would be. So there is that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the colors on the S95C. Just it looks better from my standpoint.
It's a good example there. Like when you see some nice gradients in the sky, especially with the orange sky fading into the yellow here. It's a good way to look at these two examples here. And I think the thing that I noticed the most is you can see, sorry, camera. Let me adjust it. You can see that the S95C is pulling in the color a little bit better, and then the QN90C is doing a really good job in this scene too. The QN90C is the brightest, no surprise here. It's the one that can get the brightest in this scene. You can probably see the QN90C in this, for example, right?
Yeah, it definitely shows on the bottom left.
So
Oh, let me go ahead and got to
that's a
take
good
that
one
down.
too. I like that one.
You got a super chat too.
All right.
Let me grab that one. Oops. Thanks for the super chat. Matthew said, thanks. Probably going to go S95C. We'll wait for Black Friday, keeping a close eye on the firmware updates. Samsung could be number one if they play smart.
Yeah. I think the S95C is really solid. If you're looking at filmmaker mode in particular, like the colors are really good. Um, I I think the S95B is probably just as good in filmmaker mode. Aside from like color accuracy and stuff, like the colors just seem to be more on point for the S95C, and they measure better as well. But the S95B is not too bad, honestly. So if you're keeping it in filmmaker mode and you're not gonna notice the slightest differences with the color, and I would honestly get the S95B. It's cheaper, and unless you need 77-inch, I probably wouldn't get the S95C, to be honest with you. I know that's like not what people are expecting me to say, but I'm also trying to save you guys some money at this point. And I honestly think there is like diminishing returns with these technologies right now. You're getting small amounts of increases, maybe 10%, 20% if you're like if you want to be generous over the S95B. So here's this scene I want to point out. And thank you for the super chat, Matthew. I appreciate you. Here's this scene in particular. When you're looking at this, you can see that every single TV except for the C3 is really orange, right? Like with the sun. And I'll drop my exposure so you can see that a little bit better.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the C3 is losing the color there.
Yeah. It looked yellow.
Exactly. It's actually looking a little bit whiter. So look at the rings around it. You see how there's orange around all the suns, except for the C3 is more white around it. That's the color loss that you see. So
But then I'm looking at the S95C. I don't know. It's just I'm looking at the sun and the cloud. It just looked more realistic than looking at the G3. I mean, G3 is doing a good job.
the
But
S95C is definitely the brightest here. The G3 is doing a great job. That's also turning a little bit white. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty good. Like if you were telling me the G3 was an S95C at this point, I'd probably believe you. You know, if it was the only TV. But if you told me the C3 was an S95C, I would definitely know you're not telling the truth. Because like you can see it, right? You can see the color loss. And I think like on stream, just pay attention to the way that it's orange around it. You see that?
Oh yeah.
You see the orange glow compared to the white? Yeah, so that's a good indicator there. And then I'll pull up a really cool demo as well. I might have to take it off the screen though for a second.
The more I'm thinking about this, it seemed like the S90C may be a sleeper TV for this year.
Oh, for sure. Like
just
like I
thinking about
said,
this.
it's you know kind of like a better S95B in a way because it's probably got the same color behavior as a S95C.
Now I'm just talking about going against the C3 in this
Oh,
instance.
that
Yeah.
too. Yeah, like if you want to talk
Yeah.
about prices right now,
Yeah, that's I'm just throwing it out there because after looking at that sun scene, yeah, I'm thinking about because I had the 55 inch as well too. You really can't see it in the back, but I didn't unbox it yet. But I'm thinking about picking up the S90C as well too, and that's something that I'm kind of thinking about doing as a comparison.
yeah. So there's that. Let's go to the next demo. Why it keeps wanting me to sign in. We'll get to the gaming comparison a little bit later. I have to do it in order because otherwise I just have to keep switching back and forth. And right now we have the Apple TV hooked up, so that's what you're getting. But yeah, let's see if we got any questions here.
Asking questions. Just keep coming up too. Let me see if you can answer this one. This one's from Danny. He said, can settings make the S95C have the same depth or 3D pop as a G3 beyond color luminance?
So the G3 can do something that the S95C can't do if you're a fan of that like color pop kind of picture profile. You can't get that same like effect on this S95C. So there's something with expression enhancer and setting it to brightness. You can't replicate it with the contrast enhancer at all because you're going to lose way too much color. It's going to get washed out. As far as I know, like I tried everything to get it to look like the expression enhancer, so I couldn't quite match it there. So no. As far as the 3D, pop, I think that the processor in the S95C is great. It was great with the S95B as well. And with the active on, you kind of feel like you got that same type of effect, but it is definitely something the LG worked on with the dynamic tone mapping this year. You still have the downside though of dynamic tone mapping lifting the shadows up. Yeah, I do have a little bit of a workaround for that in game mode, but it's not gonna be the most ideal, and you're going to have to switch it for certain games. But I did find a little bit of a workaround if you play something that has like shadows and like maybe like Resident Evil, something where you don't want to see all the shadows, So you can have a workaround for that. Otherwise, dynamic tone mapping will be way too much in terms of lifting up the entire picture level, the whole scenes. Because I do feel like dynamic tone mapping just kind of kills the immersion when you're in those darker games. And that's been my biggest problem there.
All right, you got a super chat. Let me go ahead and pull this one up. So from Tasty, thanks for super chat. Is C3 game mode color looks worse, same, or better than C2?
So I think the game mode probably performs about the same. I haven't really seen it next to a C2. I have it where I can see it next to a C1, and I'm not seeing like a ton of difference there. So I think you're still getting about the same. It's outside of game mode where it has improved with the color. So for game mode, I wouldn't necessarily upgrade. I think we looked at that demo. The macro color one's pretty good. Let's do that.
Let me see if there any other questions. All right. Let me go ahead and pick this one up. Salah Dread. So you suggested the S95 over the G3 for game mode. I mean, for someone who wants specifically LG, is there a chance that LG will improve game mode next year, or will it be the same?
I'll say this, Salah. If you're not using HGIG, you can use ALLM, and get a really same experience as what you'd get outside of game mode. And your input lag will be pretty low. It should be almost feeling about the same as regular game mode. So you just give up certain things like HGIG, for example. So if you're not really caring about accuracy in gaming, you can definitely get a G3 and be fine. So I do want to make sure everybody knows that when we're speaking about game mode specifically, we're talking about the actual game mode that you can be in. But there are workarounds, and if you're dead set on LG, that's just the one you want. You're more comfortable with LG. Absolutely, you can get a G3 and it'll be fine.
That's a good question. Let me see here. Let's see, any other questions?
And I wanted to make sure I say thank you to Tasty Delicious for that super chat.
Oh, this is a good question. Are you on the latest firmware update on the S95C? Did you
I am
update
on the latest firmware update for all of the TVs.
Okay, so SD asked this question.
Unless there was something brand new that just came out that's only available on the website.
Oh, you probably won't be able to answer this the more I'm thinking about it. Any changes to 1123 firmware from 113?
Not that I know of. As far as I know, nothing really changed from 1113 to 1123. I think it was just bug fixes and improvements.
Yeah, people are.
There was a recent update with the S95B where it changed the way that the TV would behave and automatically pixel cleaning the screen for burn-in and stuff. So maybe they had that same type of update with S95C.
Now, going back to the TVs, I don't know why I keep on gravitating toward top right, but I'm just probably because of the colors.
Yeah,
It's really popping out, like the red and yellow.
Yeah, I like this particular demo here. I think that the deepest color here, which again, we're talking about color, which out of the box could be all over the place for all these TVs. You never know. But it is in filmmaker mode, so we're trying to get the closest comparison possible. But I'll say like the G3 definitely does these reds really well. I think LG does a really good job with their reds in general. There's a lot more gradient though with like the S95C, and I'm not sure if like that gradient is meant to be there or if that's like just a downside to something, but there is this kind of gradient. It's not a solid red on the Samsungs, but it's like that kind of on the G3 as well. So, but the QN90B, for example, you don't see that as much. So it's kind of weird in that sense that it does that. Here's an interesting example. Like this, the yellow on the C3 here. It looks green.
Oh, I was just about to say that. Yeah, it looks green.
Yeah. And on the QN90C, it looks like it's turning white a little bit. And the S95C is the only one that's giving me like the best look right here.
Yeah.
The G3 is not bad though.
You have another super chat. Let me pull this up.
All right.
From Lock Moratos. I hope I'm
Thank-
saying that right.
Thank you for the super chat. He says S95C has only 19 milliseconds input lag with 4K 60 with interpolation. Does the S90C match that, or is it closer to the S95B's 28 milliseconds? I'm not really sure. I know that Game Motion Plus is something that kind of fluctuates with the input lag. It's not something that you can time once and then it's the same. Because I see measurements from the same TV be totally different. I think it depends on how you set up the setting, like what sliders you use. Um, that has something to do with it. I know some people will just use one of the sliders and then it's not as much of an impact, but when you use both of the sliders, then you get like closer to that 28 milliseconds. So I would guess it's somewhere between that 25 and 28 milliseconds that it usually measures at. Typically, all the Samsung TVs measure around the same milliseconds wise for like input lag.
Thanks for that super chat.
Yeah, thank you for that super chat, by the way.
Let me see if there's any other questions.
And I just want to shout out to 151 people watching right now. You guys are awesome for tuning in. Thank you, and let me know what you guys want to see. I'll try to pull up different examples, and we'll try to get to some better stills and stuff.
I think people probably want to see the game mode because we've been talking about it.
Yeah, we'll definitely do game
time.
mode. Yeah, we'll definitely do game mode in a little bit.
Somebody was asking, can you do a LG black demo?
Sure. This one in particular. Let's make sure we get the camera right.
And while you pull that up, is another super chat.
All right. Let's get it. Thank you for the super chat, Diego. He says, is it worth buying an LG C2 55-inch now for $999 or wait for the C3? I honestly would just buy that C2 if that's what your options are. Between the C2 and the C3, I don't think there's a huge jump, and that's a good price. So I would definitely say buy the C2 55-inch. Wouldn't you agree, Max?
Yeah, I mean, because the 55-inch C3, what I paid, $1,900. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just bought it. It just came today. I'm just like, yeah, that's a good price. Yeah, like it's like almost half.
Yeah. So this is the time where you start to see those deals. And I did post that deal yesterday with the 65-inch for $12.99. I mean, honestly, I would just go for the $12.99 65-inch.
Oh yeah, classy back.
What's good, classy?
I'm back for a few minutes.
Okay,
But
cool.
I was going to say, I am personally going to be picking up a C2, a 42-inch before they're gone.
Yeah.
Specifically because I'm starting to do HDR grading for my videos, and I don't want it to have any dimming, and so I need to go in and disable it with the service menu, because otherwise I'll be sitting there in Final Cut, and it's going to be dimming and driving me nuts when trying to grade HDR. So for that use case specifically, I'll be getting a C2 over a C3.
Yeah, and the 48-inch is like $826 right now.
Yeah, I like the 42-inch size better for a monitor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can probably find that too. Check sometimes Best Buy open box has it for like $650.
So at one point it had dropped to $799, but then it's been back at $899, and their open boxes, at least the ones that are excellent or better, are like $830. But I wouldn't get it from there anyway. So, but yeah, I want to get one of those before they're gone.
Is this HDR? This doesn't feel HDR. It is HDR. Okay. Yeah, it's just a really good deal right now.
Let Let me see if there's any other questions.
Does
Oh,
LG
yeah.
OLED have more depth than QD-OLED? No, I wouldn't say that. I would say that like when you use the dynamic tone mapping mode, you can get that feel of like a little bit more almost 3D like depth, but depth comes with a lot of things. Like it depends on the scene. If you're watching like a darker scene, you kind of lose a lot of depth when you use dynamic tone mapping. So it's more so for the brightness, like the brighter scenes, you can see a more depth that way. But yeah, it's tough to say. They both look really good, honestly, when you have them in comparable modes. I wouldn't say one has more depth than the other. Samsung definitely has a little bit more like sharpness to it because they have this dynamic sharpening that they do. Like in every mode, it's you can't turn it off. Sony does the same thing. So
Can you rewind that scene? I was looking at
yeah, which one?
I think it was like right before the
cats?
cats. Yeah, right. Well, the cats, and then it was
This
something
one.
before. No,
This
it
one?
wasn't that one. Right before it. Right before that.
This one.
Mm, yeah, that's a good scene, and then I think the cats was a good one too.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just looking at the C3 look. I don't know what's a better term. I'm not saying it's washed out, but I'm just saying the colors on that C3 is not it's not up to scale to the other TVs.
That
Or
might
maybe
be
it's
the
just me.
camera. Yeah, that might be camera. I think they look fairly similar here. Here's a good example though where you are seeing a little bit more sharpness on like
It
the
was
S95C here.
I
There's
think it
like
could have been the
a
cats.
little bit more defined in the background.
If you're looking at skin tones or anything darker gray, where you're seeing that extra green on the G3, are you seeing that on the C3 as well?
I can check that. I do
Like
see
I said, if you're on the
the
Apple
green
TV, again, just
on
go to the settings, go to the Apple
yeah,
TV settings.
right, we
That
could do
screen
that.
is perfect gray.
Yeah, it is perfect. Good call. So we'll go here. So this screen in particular, you mean?
Yeah, just that gray. You should be able to see if the G3 will stand out as green compared to the S95C. But the S95C, at least mine, was too magenta.
Yeah.
I was wondering if the C3 is looking like the G3 on that.
It looks more
Fairly
green on the
similar.
C3 to me. I think all of them look comparable. I think it's more magenta on the S95C.
It definitely seems like you're getting more green on the G3, like on the top left.
I was about to say the C3, bottom right, but
Numeric differences between the G3 and the C3. C3 matches last year's because the G3 is a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they act really similar from what I've been seeing. The G3 just seems more capable, which is clear. Like that.
You should look
I
at
think
shadow detail too.
I was about
Yeah.
to say the G3 looks better than all of them, in my opinion.
So I'm gonna grab some. I'm gonna pull up a movie still. I'm gonna look for something real quick. So let's talk it out. Let's see if we got any questions. It'd be a good time to pull some questions while I look for something.
Yeah, let me see. So far no questions that I could see.
Yeah, it's like the G3 is getting a lot of praise for its accuracy out of the box because it's really close to D65. Like it's pretty much spot on D65 out of the box, which is great. And so a lot of the color errors and stuff are low errors, but that doesn't mean that there's not problems because of the crushing near black and because of that drop in blue at the bottom that makes everything look green. like skin tones and whatnot. So there are definitely some issues still that, I mean, they can be addressed with calibration, but just out of the box, it's like I think it's getting too much praise for the accuracy when the RGB balance across the whole grayscale isn't flat like it is on Sony's, or even the S95C is actually pretty consistent. Like it's not consistent in its white point from panel to panel, so they aren't really using D65. But as far as like looking at a grayscale, you'll see the white point, it's the same pretty much like through the whole grayscale. But on the
Right.
G3, there's this dip of blue at the bottom middle range that just it's very noticeable to someone like me.
Let me see if I can find out any examples here of shadow detail.
Oh, did we say FOMO's in the chat?
Definitely
Say,
hard to tell on this scene. This might not
what's
be
up, FOMO?
possible
How's
for
it going? I see him in the chat.
Yeah, what's good,
Yeah.
FOMO? How you doing, man? So
And-
anything we can see on camera, it's kind of far away.
I don't know. It look like the
So I can tell
G3
you
looks a little
how
green.
right. The G3 will look a little bit green in the darker areas sometimes in the shadows. That's the bummer part. I will say surprisingly enough, like in this particular scene, you are seeing a little bit more shadow detail in the S95C. The QN90C actually doing a really good job with avoiding blooming on the black bars here. Like I'll even try to raise the ISO so you guys can see. There's not a ton of separation there. Ignore the cables.
You're exposing the whole room.
I am.
Surprise! Look at my wires. Oh,
Um,
mine's gonna look like that too. So
yeah. So that's interesting. Let's see if we can find a better scene here. Whoops. I hate that. Come on, Apple. Why do you do that? The C3 has the worst shadow detail of them all, but I mean that doesn't surprise me. I just cracked it out of the box, so it has not been broken in at all.
someone mentioned that they can't see the black box because of the question. Hold on for a minute. Let's see if we could take that question off.
Oh,
yeah.
My bad. I didn't even see we had that up.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Good job. Thanks, High Def, for mentioning that.
You want to see the black bars? Okay. So like here's the thing. They do a really good job with the black bars every year. QN90B took a step back with one of the updates. I don't know why, but yeah. There's that.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not
for the
bad at all.
the Q90C looks actually decent.
Yeah, it does look really decent here.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pull up something else here while we wait.
But I'm looking at the G3 and the S95C. Both of them look very close when it comes to the blacks and shadow detail. But
yeah, I think that so far the QN90C shadow detail, it's good. It's always been good though. Like
yeah,
ever since the QN90B, they did a lot with shadow detail. Sorry, the QN98, they started to clean up the shadow detail a lot, I believe. And
yeah.
then the QN90B was where it really started to see some improvements.
Yeah, that's where one thing I noticed on my X95K is like the shadow detail. I try to explain it to people, but he said no, OLED is better. I was like, it's debatable, but okay.
Right.
I think they have superior shadow detail, but hey.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find some good
But that
examples.
QN90C, I'm happy. I'm happy that you got the 55-inch version because what you had the 40. What was the 40? What was the 48 version? 45?
Which one? The 43 inch.
43 inch. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad you got the 55 inch and stuff. So do you notice like a difference in performance between both sizes?
Yeah, I would say the 43 inch was a little bit cleaner in terms of like handling blooming, but other than that, there's not much difference. Here, I'm gonna pull up that screen now for you guys, and let me adjust this back down.
Yeah, with the black bars, the 90B was actually really good with black bars as long as they were typical 2.4 to 1 aspect ratio. But it was the thinner black bars that it could not do well. But the 90C did very good with.
That was a problem that I had last year with the 900B.
Yeah.
But they did say it was a firmware update that said it helped fixed it. But when I had the 65-inch version, that black bars, the narrow black bars was awful. It wasn't good at all.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys can see here. Trying to look at the detail on the coat here. For Jesse Eisenberg in the middle there. I can't really see too many good details on the C3. That seems to be crushed out a little bit more. The G3 actually has pretty good shadow detail in this scene.
Yeah, that's a G3 and S95C.
Yeah.
And the QN90C, it looked a little washed out in that area.
Yeah. So I put it in S-Log 3 so we can see more detail. Let me put it in S-Log 2
Oh,
so at least
okay.
you get a little bit more color. So that's why it looks a little bit washed out.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes a
Yeah.
difference because I was like, ooh, I was like, I'm not
Yeah,
liking
we're
that
just looking at
90C.
shadow detail, and
Yeah.
particularly right now,
Yeah, I was about to
trying
say,
to
I did
find
not like the 90C.
differences. Let me grab another scene
Yeah,
here.
it's no LCD is going to compete with OLEDs and darker scenes. It's not going to happen. That's why it's like you look at
Right.
every result from every shootout, LCDs just cannot compete in darker scenes.
Yeah. No, I
And now
agree.
the OLEDs are able to get APL brightness up so high that even in brighter scenes, there's not much advantage there. Like the advantage that LCDs currently have is that you can get an 85 inch and usually spend less money, and you pretty much don't worry about burn-in, but then you do have to worry about DSE.
Yeah. Here's one we can kind of grab. Oh, come on. Apple TV remote, why are you so bad? So you can grab any questions you see, by the way, if you see any.
No, I don't see any question. Everybody just talking about, yeah. No questions so far. I think
Alright.
everyone just going back and forth which TV looked better.
Oh, okay. All right, here we go. So here's another scene. Try to look at the fan in the background. And you can
Oh,
see,
yeah.
if we focus on the fan, like where do you see the best example of that? I would say the QN90C definitely isn't doing as well as I would hoped here.
No, it's the worst out of the
Yeah,
three.
it seems to be the worst out of the three. C3 is the second worst.
I said S95C is number one because I can see behind that fan, whatever that is that a window or whatever it is, or a door?
Yeah, I don't even see that on the QN90C.
Yeah, I looked at when I'm looking at the QN90C, I don't see anything. I see. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, let's try to raise it up a little more so you can kind of see.
Yeah, but I can see.
Yeah, there's like a door behind there.
But the S95C,
You can't see it on the
looks a lot
QN90C
better.
no matter what.
Oh yeah, that's awful.
You see that?
Not really.
No,
A
I'm saying
little.
like you can't see the door really.
No, yeah, it doesn't matter how much you brighten it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
man, that's crazy. So it's definitely a pretty good example of shadow detail here. I'm not the biggest fan of this QN90C right now. It's definitely good in brighter scenes. And it's not a bad TV by any means, but the price tag that it's at right now, same thing with the C3. It's like I can't justify that when the S95B exists.
And that's why I try to do the reviews thinking, what is it gonna be 6 months from now when
Yeah,
last year models aren't here and the prices come down. And then also like something like a QN90C, compare it to OLEDs, but also you should have another high-end LCD to compare it to see where that technology is changing. Not because again, dark scenes, none of them are going to be able to compete with OLEDs. It's just not going to happen.
right. Let's see what happens if I switch the local dimming a little bit.
Oh, and also keep in mind the S95C, very slight over brightening of shadows, kind of similar to what Sony does.
Oh, okay.
So actually, if you set the shadow detail to -1, it'll be a lot closer to accurate.
Okay. Did you feel like you needed to bump up the shadow detail on the QN90C at all?
I would have to look at my notes to see what I did, or
I think you
my
had the
settings video for it.
SC2084, like 1, right?
In gaming, I had to do that, but
Oh,
in
okay.
Filmmaker, I may have had shadow detail +1, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, you might need to do it +1 if you want to be able to see things like that door in the background.
Yeah, because I remember when I first got it and I was comparing it to the B, the shadow details were less than on the B, but then after calibrating it, it was better.
Yeah.
So it might have been +1 shadow detail on it. I just know the S95C needs to be -1.
Yeah. I'm gonna grab a brighter scene. People are asking for brighter scenes.
People are talking about QN95C. I know FOMO is going to be doing a stream tomorrow,
Yep.
so people are just wondering like how that's going to handle with that same scene. It's going to be interesting.
There's a very similar like scene to like the White Room in this movie. I'm gonna find it. Okay, I don't know what this movie is graded at though. If anybody wants to look. We'll stop. We'll get to gaming in just a second. I don't know how long I'm gonna go. What time is it? Okay, 7. I might go till like 8:30. So we'll try to get gaming in. If I need to do a second day, I'll probably do it Sunday. Because FOMO's doing his thing tomorrow.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. That QN95C. I'm really interested to see how that do, how that TV performs. So
Yeah. I'm trying to look for my phone.
but it is kind of bummer that it doesn't have the one connect box. So
Right. It is. But yeah, I don't know, man. The one connect box can also be a hassle if you don't have anywhere to put it. I know you can
yeah,
mount it to the back, but it's like, oh, you got to do that too.
yeah, so it could be a double-edged sword. I don't know. I think it's more convenient for especially with I don't know HDMI cords. I think it's a little bit cleaner in my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially if you have like a
Well,
TV stand or something like that, you just using that on your furniture. You could just put the one connect box inside of it and have all your cords running through it.
hey, FOMO, if you're still listening, can you take a picture of the label on the back of the QN95C and send it to me? And then that way I can tell you who makes the panel. Because if it's CSOT and it's a VA panel, then we're going to see that blue glow where it does have blooming. But if it's AUO VA panel, then it should be cleaner, better looking.
Yeah, I'm setting up the next scene still. Hold on.
Yeah, it would be great if the X95L came over here at the 65 and 75 inch. That would be great, but no, we only get an 85 inch. Come on, Sony.
Yeah. I wish they didn't do that, you know.
I don't know why they're doing that either. So yeah, that was kind of odd. Now you only could get the 85 inch.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get out of the S log so you can see the colors better. 1 second. That's a little bit better. So you can see here, I think like what the OLEDs do here in a scene like this can't be understated. Because here's where you would kind of want an OLED, because you are kind of losing when there's lights together like this. You're losing a lot, especially since it's darker around the lights. It's a little more cloudy than the OLED. So that's going to be another downside when you're picking a LCD TV. So I thought that would be a good example to pull out for the LCD differences. And you can't really see it on camera, but the S95C definitely looks the best right here.
Yeah, I was just about to say. I'm just looking at the shadow detail. I just think it looks a lot better from the S95B, because do you remember I said it was Black Crush on
Yeah.
there? And the
Oh, for
S95
sure, yeah.
it's like Samsung definitely cleaned that up with the S95C. And
They did that with the update too. Filmmaker mode
okay.
is in general, it doesn't have too much black rush. It seems pretty good on the S95B.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just like at launch though. Yeah, there was definitely a lot of
Yeah,
black
because I was
rush.
looking at that, and I said, I know I'm not the only one that's seeing this and stuff. So, but looking at the S95C at launch, I'm like, ooh, they cleaned this up a lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Netflix because it's a little bit easier to control.
So some people are asking some questions about if you could put it in active on
Sure,
the
yeah,
S9.
we can do that in a second. I wanted to do it like this because once you go into the more like non-accurate modes, ooh, the Power Ranger movie's out. I gotta watch that. I gotta watch that.
Yeah.
I saw that they brought everybody back, right? Like,
Yeah, my wife was asking me, "Said you gonna watch that?" I said, "You know I am."
heck yeah, bro. All right. Anyway, that distracted me. So let me go to movies. Actually, TV shows probably better on Netflix, right?
Yeah. Or
We'll do Stranger Things. I think people like to see that.
yeah, Stranger Things is a good one. I was about to say Underground 6 is a good one. What's the other one? Now I'm gonna have to go through my Netflix stuff. What's
Yeah,
the
if
other
anybody
one?
knows like any super high graded stuff on Netflix, let me know. I'm
I'll-
betting Outer Banks is
yeah,
like crazy.
oh yeah, that thing will sear your eyes.
Yeah,
I
I
was
I'd
watching on
have
that.
to guess that it's high graded.
Yeah, I was looking on the X95K. My eyes was like, that was the first time my eyes started to hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah, I said I got to turn this down.
yeah. Nah, there's a couple of scenes with the skies and stuff where you're definitely seeing some really good details, and
Yeah.
there's also a demo I'm gonna pull up too with I don't know if you ever seen the Miami demo by like Eugene Belsky. I can't play the whole video because it's copywritten, but um man, there is definitely some really cool examples in that.
Hmm.
So here is a really cool scene. Um
Oh
this
yeah,
one
that's a good saying.
this one's particularly interesting to me. S95C does the best job here.
Yep.
You can see as I go through and we make it as dark as possible here.
Yeah, still the S95C.
Yeah.
See, that's it. See, it's kind of it's hard. I'm not unless you have these TVs side by side. I don't think you would notice too much of a difference. But when you
No.
have them next to each other, I don't know. It's just that QD-OLED technology. It's just the colors.
Right.
That's what really gets me.
Yeah. This is probably the best one to show off the colors on.
Do you have FOMO was asking, what about Batman versus Superman in active?
You want me to, I could throw this into active, since this is a bright show. So let's throw it all into active. So we got our movie mode, which is always active by default.
Yeah, you gotta do the QN90C, and then you probably gonna have to do dynamic tone mapping.
I believe all I have to do is go to cinema.
Okay.
Is Classy still here?
No, he
Cinema
dropped
should
off.
be like the same as filmmaker mode, right? Let me know if it's not.
Is it Cinema Home?
Nah, Cinema Home will have expression enhancer on.
Oh, I was about to say throw all that stuff on there, see what happened.
Oh yeah, we will.
Yeah.
Cinema. All right, which one looks best to you guys right now? Actually, this probably could get controlled better.
Yeah, it's Classy right there. I would go with the colors with the S95C, but as in detail wise, I go with the G3. I'm just looking at some of the detail on that. The sun.
Yeah.
It looks better on the G3, but I'm looking at the colors on the S95C. It looks better.
Yeah. Let me find a better scene. Wrong remote.
That's just me observing from 1080p over your camera through, compression stream.
Right. Looking for some bright scenes. There's a couple of really crazy bright scenes that I remember seeing. I was like, come on. I would eat my eyeballs tomorrow. G3, man.
Oh, here's a question.
Freaking G3 here. I'll show you guys.
All right, I'm gonna highlight this one. He said ratings rate the S95C has the best sports if they have any football fans out there. He said go Chiefs.
I think if you're going sports, you go for the G3.
Oh, you go for a G3?
Yeah. I think it's going to do better in low bitrate streaming too, and that's going to be a big thing if you're using YouTube TV for NFL Sunday Ticket. I'm definitely going to test that.
At.
Yeah.
I want you to see the processing between the QN90C and the S95C. Because like you saw, if you saw my review earlier, did you see how much better the QN90C was with gradations and low bit rate and everything compared to the 90B?
Yep.
But I have not seen that big improvement on the S95C, and I don't get why.
Right. So Classy, here's another example like where the G3 is like slapping the S95C. But again,
Did you switch it to dynamic tone mapping?
Yeah, we do have dynamic tone mapping on here.
Yeah, I can tell you the spot right now. Like, if you go to Outer Banks season 2, episode 1, right when it starts, there's the sun peeking through the trees at like there's no contest. Like that is a good spot to see where, again, like in accurate filmmaker setting, you're going to see better color brightness on the S95C. But then once you switch it over to Cinema Home with dynamic tone mapping and everything, it's completely reversed.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna switch to the top real quick. I'm gonna switch this to filmmaker, and then I'm gonna switch this one back to. So is cinema and filmmaker the same? For
Yeah, if you're going to use the dynamic tone mapping
swap
on
them
the
back and forth.
LGs, use Cinema Home.
Okay.
Cinema Home will push it harder than any of the others. But just make sure you
Ah,
also set
okay.
the color to 50, and then set the white balance to warm 50.
Yeah. Now they look the same. So yeah, you're right. It's just a G3 working overtime with this dynamic tone mapping.
Yeah, it gives you more tools to push harder, which is that's the thing that like they flipped, because normally it's always Samsung that will let you lift EOTF more and push the brightness more, and Sony and LG wouldn't let you get that bright. But now
Right.
LG is just basically giving you that extra control to take it even further.
Yeah. I just want to see if I can match it. No, you still can't really match it as much.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was working for like almost an hour trying to match it the other day. I was like, I can't match it. It's not possible. So like that's why I'm telling people, if you're just watching movies and TV shows and you're going for picture pop, it's the G3 for me, man. Like if I didn't game, I'd probably get the G3. I like both. I think both are really great. But
But I would say the reverse is true. If you want accuracy, the S95C out of the box is going to be able to do the filmmaker mode a
yeah,
bit better and be more accurate. And even after the calibration, there's times where I have them, and again, like the S95C can, where it's, the content calls for it, get brighter than the G3 when they're in their accurate modes.
yeah. I'm gonna turn off expression enhancer for right now. But I switched to G3, right? I switched to C3, right?
To be honest with you, I don't
Yeah,
know
I
if you
did.
did. Okay.
Man, the C3 just can't.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it now. I'm like, the C3 just can't do this. It just
I'm
can't
looking at the
compete.
QN90C, and it's like they look similar to each other, the C3 and the QN90C.
Yeah, but like, so I'm gonna darken it so you can kind of see where the brightness is really at. It's the G3, you see? Like the G3 is definitely pushing it the most.
Oh yeah.
S95C second, and then QN90C third. Actually, I would say QN90C is second, and S95C is third here. This is like my favorite show on Netflix, by the way. I just love the show.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Um,
Stranger Things is still number one, but
yeah. And here's an example where you can't beat you can't beat the QN90C.
oh yeah, right there.
See, you just can't beat it. So you want a bright room TV, it's still gonna be like, I don't know. It's the G3. You can do it. You can get away with it for sure. But if you want the absolute brightest, overcome all the obstacles, your best bet's still
Yeah, but
probably
that's
going to be
only
like
in those
QN90C.
super high APL
Yeah,
scenes. In
it's true.
other scenes, it won't push as hard.
Right. Yeah, that is true. I guess that's like the biggest hurdle we got to jump over as when we're figuring out what TV to get. Because that's not how people think, you know? So it's like we have to think about it. On average, is the G3 brighter than the QN90C? And I think it is. So I would say that you're probably right in that sense.
Yeah, no, for me, it's like the best LCDs just need to be in their own category, where it's like someone decides they want an LCD. Okay, then these are solid TVs. But no matter what, at this point, I would recommend OLEDs first, whether it be the G3 or the S95C. Like they've
Yeah.
reached that point that unless you have to have 85-inch, or you get a really good deal or something like that, or you're really afraid of burn-in, like those are the only real reasons to not go with one of the OLEDs.
Yeah, dude, this is crazy. So the G3 here is just doing weird stuff with the colors. I don't know. It's almost making it look a bit neon, but maybe that's what it's supposed to look like. I don't know. Without having a monitor nearby, who can say? But who cares, right? Because we're in the cinema home. I'll say this. I'm gonna throw on the expression enhancer. People don't like when I use expression enhancer because I've heard a lot of people complaining like it's unfair, and you'd have to use contrast enhancer to combat that. And I was like, okay, so you can see that
Hey,
the brightness
EJG.
doesn't even do anything here for this scene. So
that's all Loki was saying about the QN90C looks like the dimmest LCD he's ever seen. That's not what it is. It's just like you watched
these
my review
OLEDs
earlier.
are
The
freaking
90C, yeah, the 90C is brighter than the 90B once you turn that stuff up or whatever. You let it do that. Like it was brighter. Like go look at the horses in the snow on the Spears and Munzel at the end of the video. Like it's clearly brighter.
And
It's
you can
just
get it
when
a
it
little bit
comes,
brighter, but you're gonna
yeah,
lose
like
out. Like standard is a
that's
little bit
just
brighter.
how much do you want it to clip? How much do you want it to blow out the highlights? Like that kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
those are just trade-offs you have to make.
So I'll do the maximum treatment on both TVs here. So I did contrast enhancer. You see there's like really big downsides with contrast enhancer on
Yeah,
high.
that's the problem is
Yeah,
I
there's
will
no way
never
to match
turn on
it.
contrast
But I'm
enhancer.
gonna do it so it's fair,
But,
to a degree.
yeah, I'm just saying like that's what Samsung, they use it as a crutch. Contrast enhancer is going to remove a lot of detail. It's not going to look natural at all, but that's what they rely on to really get the brightness pushed harder, especially on their LCD models. And it's like if you're willing to use that, then you're going to get more brightness. But I personally would not turn it on regardless.
Right. So I want to show you like the biggest downside to contrast enhancer for when you're really just trying to drive it at maximum. Like look at skin tones, you're starting to get washed out skin tones and stuff like that. And details get clipped. I'm curious to see if this is actually just like getting washed out or is this a skin tone difference? Because at times I feel like the S95C looks a bit like a little tiny bit like undershooting or undersaturating the skin tones. Like I don't know. I can't quite figure out the skin tones on the S95C. Oh yeah, so you can see it is definitely just driving
skin
it.
tones are going to have a huge impact based on the white point out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
And Samsung really is not very consistent with their white point target. So like I said, mine was very magenta, which,
Yeah.
and then like I said, that really affects your skin tones. So
right, it's just contrast enhancer in this case. The downside to it, you see, like there's just a huge drop off. That's why you can't compare it with it on. You're always just gonna see big differences. Because somebody's gonna just grab a screenshot from this and look, hey, look at how bad the S95C is, with no context at all. So yeah, which is fine. Like if they want to do that, fine. All right, I'm gonna grab another.
yeah, I was looking at the chat. I wasn't seeing what you were showing. I thought you were talking about the colors of the skin tones.
Yeah. It was like making her skin white. It was like washing her skin out.
Well, yeah, that was just like being clipped out. Like
Yeah.
any like light reflecting off the skin will clip.
Yeah. Hey, QN90C is pretty good though in these high brightness scenes. I'm gonna turn off contrast enhancer after this next scene. We'll get to gaming too, don't worry. I can pull up any examples you guys want to, and if you have any questions, you leave them in chat. Max will pull up the questions when he sees them, and then any like questions you need answered right away, if you want to make sure it's seen, the best way to do it is to send a super chat. This also supports the channel, and I thank you guys if you end up doing that. But
Yeah.
here's a good example.
Yeah, the only question I see is someone asked me about the X95K, but I really can't compare it because I don't have the QN90C. I'll just pull this up real quick.
Yeah.
I really can't answer that question. I haven't seen the QN90C in person to really say and stuff. So I don't want to just say one is better than the other while having them side by side. So I may pick it up later this year and see and go from there.
Yeah. You know, I said it last year, but the S95B was like the first introduction of us crashing the barrier where you don't even need to think about LCD unless you're in a super duper bright room. But even then, you don't even really need to think about LCD TV. I think we're just there now, because you could see like the C3 is just not. It just can't. But everything else competing with high brightness. Like QN90C is brighter here, yes, but again, we have
Series at this
contrast
point,
enhancer on too.
this
So
still makes like a good dark room if you have it in
Yeah.
an accurate mode.
Mhm.
But when you are trying to push the brightness, then that's where the C series is just, it's not there anymore.
yeah, I agree with that. And like I said, if you're going to like keep it in filmmaker mode, watching that term in a dark room, you'll be fine. You probably won't be missing too much. But if you're trying to use it in different ways, game mode, etc., I think then the bigger ones are definitely worth stepping up to if you can. If you can't, I mean, honestly, the S95B exists, and that's not that much more than the C2 or C3. Actually, it's cheaper than the C3. And then you have the S90C out there that's the same price as the C3. So again, Classy, do you think like the S90C is probably going to be performing very similar in terms of the way that it's set up out of the box to the 95C?
Yeah, so I think the C3 is going to have to undercut the S90C in order to keep their volume in sales. Also, the Sony AADL is coming, and I do not have high hopes for that as far as brightness, but it'll still have all of Sony's other advantages. But if you want brightness, it's going to be the lowest of those three mid-tier options.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I saw EJG asked about best receiver under $600. If you have a Costco membership, I know they usually have the I forget the exact model, but it's a Denon, and then sometimes I think they have an Onkyo, and they're like $450 for 7 channels. That's kind of like the go-to best bang for the buck in that range. Otherwise, I would look at the Onkyo NR. I think it's the 6100 or 5100 at 7 channels. Because I have the NR 7100, which is 9 channels, and that was like 1,000 or 1,100. But yeah, for the money, the one at Costco is like the best deal.
Yeah. Yeah, if you really want to drive these TVs, I don't think you can beat the G3. If you just want to drive the TV to the maximum, like drive it to its knees and push out as much brightness as possible, you can't beat the G3. Especially, you have to consider what movies you watch. You're just going to get a brighter presentation most of the time anyway. So, because I noticed most movies that I put on, the G3 tends to look a little bit brighter. Even in filmmaker mode, it's just slightly brighter. It depends on how the movie's graded, though.
Yeah, you just talking about movie content, so
Yeah, movies particularly, movies and TV shows. I mean, that's what people watch the most, right? Like Netflix
Yeah.
shows and movies. I mean, and it depends on how they watch. If you watch in filmmaker mode, then I would go with the S95C for sure. But if you want to like really push it, like I'm doing right now, and you can't really beat the G3.
Now you just talking about just brightness, or are you talking about like
Brightness,
color?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
brightness, and just pushing it to the maximum. And like even the color is fine. Like you don't see the color get washed out like you do with like if you throw the S95C in a contrast enhancer, right? Contrast enhancer is gonna wash out colors. Even if you use expression enhancer, it doesn't wash out the colors as much as you would think. So you still retain a lot of good colors with expression enhancer, and yeah, it's definitely
Yeah,
that
well,
picture pop TV.
you mean specifically the brightness one,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm talking about. Like if
Yeah,
you're really driving the TV
yeah.
and you're somebody who
It's
watches picture pop, it's unbeatable.
yeah. So it's basically turning on dynamic tone mapping is going to do one of two things. If the content is not using the full ability of the panel, then it will push the panel as hard, much harder than it otherwise would.
Yeah,
But if the content goes beyond what the panel is capable of, then it will more aggressively tone map and then actually dim down those highlights to show more detail. So those are the two things that dynamic tone mapping does.
right.
Then with the expression brightness setting, it's purely just an EOTF bump at the upper mid range of the grayscale. So anything that's not a highlight, but not shadows, not the lower mid range. It's only the upper mid range. So as you start to get into brighter objects that aren't highlights, that's what it's really going to push brighter.
Yep. And here's an example where the G3 can't match the QN90C again when you have these bigger white, like big blue, sky blue, just bright scenes, super bright, high APL scenes. You're still gonna get the advantage going to the QN90C. So
You do got a super chat on
if you
here.
watch a lot of stuff that's like this, and you still have the option for the QN90C, and it's not terrible. But on the flip side, when you watch darker stuff like John Wick, for example, you'll definitely notice the blooming on those candles. Thank you for the super chat. Let's see. Ford, appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. He says, do you know of any entry-level sound bars relatively cheap for the apartment? Yeah, there's a couple of entry-level sound bars. I think it depends on the TV you have because some of the TVs are actually better than the entry-level sound bars. So you got to be kind of careful with that. That Sonos Beam is a pretty good entry level. Like if you just want a good like center channel, you can fill up the room with some pretty good bass. It depends on how big your room is too.
And I think the best value for those entry sound bars is to look for the like 1 or 2 year old LG 3-channel one. So you get the dedicated center plus the left and right, and it has a sub. And
Yeah.
you can get those on Amazon for like $140.
Yeah, those aren't bad.
And
a
you
lot
can
of
get a
times
similar
though,
Samsung. It doesn't have to be LG. Just
a lot of times though, the sub is just it doesn't do too much. And
yeah, but I mean that's when you're talking entry, that's better than the 2-channel, ones that are like $80. You spend 140,
right,
150, you
that's
get
true.
3 channels plus a basic sub. It's something.
That's true.
Yeah, I have no comment on the soundbar, so
Yeah, I don't like them, but for my bedroom,
Yeah.
which gets the TV turned on maybe once a month, like that's what I did, just because the TCL speakers are terrible on the 5 Series. But yeah, normally I don't do soundbars.
Yeah.
yeah, I think they're good options, especially for smaller spaces and stuff. So, but yeah, that seemed like a good suggestion as well. The LG, and I think Samsung does a good job too.
Yeah,
with
it's like I said, LG or Samsung, they both have comparable 3-channel with a sub, 3.1s. And it's just the main thing is look at the 1 or 2 year old versions that are on Amazon from third party sellers that even if they're refurbished, like it doesn't really matter. They either work or they don't. If they don't, you return it. And if they work, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you could find some options and probably see if you could probably demo them at some stores, depending. Oh yeah, this one. Yeah, can't deny the G3 on this one. Yeah, you're right about that.
Yep.
Oh,
So
he followed up and said, would it be better than a G2 sound? No, the G2 sound, if you put it on AI sound, is going to sound better than pretty much all sound bars under $300 or more.
yeah, the G2 is not bad. You should be fine with the G2 sound. I would say if you're trying to get better sound out of that, definitely look into mid range or
Yeah, you'd probably be spending $500 or $600 on a sound bar to get a notable upgrade.
yeah, I'd agree. I mean, the beam probably be better than it.
I don't know how much the beam is, but I mean,
I think
I'm
it's
saying like
$299.
you're gonna get a little
on Steam.
better with something like that, but I'm saying like for an actual notable upgrade,
Yeah.
Oh, you
$100
broke out.
range with a good sub.
Yeah. Thank
I
you
was
for
just saying
that
to get
super chat.
notable upgrade.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. What do you guys think on this scene? What scene looks pretty good here? I'm gonna switch it back now to filmmaker mode because I'm just curious to see how they handle the skin tones in this scene since we have two different types of skin tones.
If you're talking about purely brightness, yeah, it's
sec.
gonna be
Yeah.
G3.
G3 is just probably one of the brightest TVs that I've seen, which is crazy because it's an OLED.
Yeah, yeah.
Consistently bright too. I'm not just talking about like high APL. It's just I don't know.
Will you just switch on a S95C? You just put it back to static? Or
Yeah, they're all in filmmaker except for the G3. Hold on.
okay. I was about to say, I said,
The
whoa.
G3 is not that crazy.
I was about to say, no. I said, I'm looking at the lady's skin, and I was like, nah, that's not right.
What are we looking at on the S95C?
Oh, okay, okay. So now it looks.
Let me raise up the level a little bit for you.
It's kind of hard to really say. I'm when it comes to darker skin complexion, I don't know. I'm kind of gravitating towards the S95C.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm looking at the G3, I don't know. It's like the face is a lot brighter.
Yeah, so here's my biggest problem with the skin tones on the G3. It tends to make skin tones like a little more yellow.
Yeah, it's like it's off. I just couldn't. I mean, I can't
That's
really
exactly because what does green and red make? Yellow.
Yeah, right.
And skin tones are in that dip where the blue drops off. So
Yeah.
it's gonna push green, push yellow.
Yeah. Nah, yeah. Yeah, he looks a little bit sick. Like he didn't eat something very good.
tell.
Let me change the picture mode here so I can kind of see that a little bit better.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at this. It's like I'm gravitating towards the S95C on this one. Like even the C3, even though it's not as bright as the G3.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I think that skin
think
tones
it looked better on the C3.
S95C is just really good with skin tones.
And I don't know, dead last, I think it's a QN90C because I'm looking at the guy's skin tone. He just looked pale
Yeah.
compared to the 3. It just doesn't. It just I'm looking at the shadow too, and he looked a lot darker compared to the
Right.
other 3.
See, and this is where if you look at her hair, you can see there's definitely like there's not as much detail to it. It's a little less contrasty. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what panel type, how many zones you have. In a situation like this, every zone's going to have to be lit up for an LCD to try and show the detail in the hair, and then you're going to get that fogginess to it that you don't have with an OLED.
Yeah, that's true. So I think I have it set to high local dimming. Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's where it should be. If you go to standard it's just gonna over brighten everything even more.
I
And
was
then you'll
like,
get
where'd
more
it go?
blooming.
Yeah, so if it's standard, you said it brightens everything more a little bit.
Yeah, and you'll have more blooming.
Yeah, you definitely get a little bit more blooming with standard. We'll keep it on standard though, so we can see a little bit better. I just want to say, like, again, with the skin tones on the G3, her face a bit too much red. Like, it just feels a bit too red on her
Yeah,
face. So
it's like
skin tones just feel all over the place for the G3.
yeah, it's just that's the only thing that's really sticking out to me on the G3. I think the worst of it is the QN90C. It
Yeah.
just is really dark. I would say the S95C is one, and I would say the C. I would even say the C3 is number two, and then G3 is third, and then QN90C is last.
Yeah. So just to remind everybody, we are in filmmaker mode again, so we can get like a good representation of what the skin tones look like. So, all right, I'm gonna pull up another scene with some skin tones in it. I just like that scene because you have two different types of skin tones, you know?
Yeah, and being in filmmaker mode, I think it's standard on all of them.
Yeah.
When it comes to HDR tone mapping, excuse me, specifically.
If you want a scene with a lot of different skin tones, you just go on YouTube and search for the portrait family. So that's like portrait displays Kalman, or it shows like 6 different people, and that's specifically what it's for, is like post calibration, looking at skin tones.
Yeah. That's a good idea. I should do that. I think I will do that. So
I don't know of a specific video that's going to show it, but it's a pattern that's been used for many, many years, so it should be out there.
yeah. Again here, like if you look at Rafe on the left, he's got like yellow skin tones
Yeah, I'm looking at
for the
that.
G3.
Oh no, and this is kind of shocking too, because it's like the S95C usually push. Well, excuse me, the S95B used to push, a reddish tone. And it seemed like the S95C just did a lot better job this year in that area.
Somebody was
Before
asking
you
about
change stuff,
BT 2020. What's up? Yeah.
Go to the season 2, episode 1, very beginning of Outer Banks.
Okay.
At the tree, and then just pause as the camera angle changes, like see them, and then the sun's coming through, because it's one of those where it's like there's a pretty strong difference in the color of the sun and sky between them.
Okay, I'll check that out. Is that when I'm in filmmaker mode? Is that fine?
Oh, I would say leave it pause and then switch back and forth and see how it changes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to look at skin tone really quickly on this, and I'll switch it back. Because somebody was asking about BT 2020 earlier, and how is it? Can you get away with it? I think it's not that bad. It's pushing a little bit more red in the skin, but could you get away with it? Sure. As long as you don't care too much about it being a little too red. But like if you use BT 2020, you can just pull down the color a little bit, and that's probably ideal. Then you get it. It's a little bit decent. See when you do that. So you could even go to 18 color and probably be fine. But yeah, BT 2020 is fine to use. So back to that. All right. So you said season 2, the first episode?
Yep, right at the very beginning.
All right.
It's like 10 seconds in.
Okay. And again, if you guys have any requests, I am taking requests. I could pull up anything from Netflix, Disney Plus, all those things. I have all of them. All right, so season 1, the intro. Wow.
No, season 2, episode 1.
Yeah. Not just just saying wow, because like even in filmmaker mode, the G3 is bright.
Yeah, it's like they are carving the tree, and then a few seconds later, the camera changes and see it from the side.
Yeah, I gotta make sure.
Oh yeah, and do Stranger Things too. Yeah, you got to throw that in there.
For sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Throw that season 4 or yeah, season 4.
I'm trying to look for that shot. Got JJ with the light peeking in right now. Is it before or after this?
You can play for 15 seconds, like he's burning the tree,
Don't do
and
it.
the camera
Don't
angle
do it.
changes. Yeah, once
I'll
the
play
camera
it.
angle changes so that the
Okay.
tree's on the left and the sun's coming through the middle, you'll see it.
I was like, don't do it.
Okay, right after they show the tree when he's holding up the drink. Like this one?
No, because you can still see the tree. The tree would be on the left side.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Tree would be on the left side. I wish you had a timestamp for me, Classy.
I just knew it was the first scene, like very early on. It's before it changes to a different scene.
Oh, okay. Well, that helps. Before they go into the nighttime shot.
Yeah, so it's like they're burning the tree, and at some point the camera just switches to a different camera, and then it's looking up, like or across where the tree is now on the left, and then the sun is coming through above them in the middle.
Okay. Okay, so it's right after they engrave the tree.
Yep.
Okay, I think I found it. This scene.
Yep. Now, when you'll see is as you're
Whoops.
changing like the dynamic tone mapping and stuff, like just it really changes a lot.
Dang it! I lost it. All right, I know exactly where it's at now. Okay. Go away, Netflix. There you go. All right, so this scene, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, so you said change the dynamic tone mapping on it?
Well, I mean, look at it like that,
okay, just like this.
and then when you do switch it, because this is a spot where with the dynamic tone mapping, it's going to push that sun a lot harder, and then you'll see a big change in color.
Yeah. Everything looks orange except for the C3, which is like white. Poor C3 right now. All right, so I'm gonna switch it. Let me have to adjust it now. There you go. So the S95C was just switched to movie mode. This will get switched to cinema. Oh no, we'll just cinema home, right? And then we'll turn off the expression enhancer. You said put expression enhancer to brightness?
Sure, why not? I'll
Okay.
just let it get bright.
Yeah. And we'll see.
I
We'll see
imagine
if
the
there's
C3 is
color
going
loss.
to really struggle. Yeah.
All right.
And obviously going through camera and YouTube or whatever, like you can't really see how bright the scene actually is. But if you
Right.
go to that part of the episode, I'm sure you can see.
I can
like
tell
it's
you.
really.
Yeah. I can tell you. That's why I tell people, like, when they're watching these examples on YouTube, listen to what like is being described. That's the best bet, because the camera's not gonna be able to capture the full dynamic range of most scenes anyway, and color too. Like I haven't found a camera that just like captures color perfectly. If it's out there, I mean, probably the film cameras are pretty good, but I'm not spending $8,000, $9,000 on a camera to film TVs. Eventually.
The problem is you would need like 20 stops of range, which no camera is gonna have. So
yeah. Do you use an ND filter when you film?
no.
No. Would that help?
No.
I didn't think so. So we're switching this to movie mode. We'll use standard, so it's the brightest it can get. Yeah, QN90C is really, really shining right here.
Yes. Lower the exposure. Just try to expose more for that highlight.
Like this.
Yeah, it's looking like the C3 is really white, and the QN90C actually has a lot of bright color. And the S95C is right there with it, and then the G3 looks a little bit like it's
white.
Bright, but yellowish white.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too. I'm seeing both Samsung TVs are showing the orange, yellow more. The C3 is completely white. Like there's like a little hint of orange on the outside, but that's it. The G3 is doing a little bit better job there, but you're getting some of the white there. So just a really good example of the capabilities of QD-OLED and how it's very similar to like what an LCD looks like in this scene, which is impressive.
Yeah, it's crazy good.
So let me turn off expression enhancer, see if that helps. Get some of the color back. Yeah, so detail doesn't really do nothing. What does detail do again, Classy?
It just lowers the EOTF in the mid range, so it causes more separation between dark and bright scenes, and it's just really, that's going to be a preference thing, but I don't see a purpose for it.
Yeah,
you're just you're causing a smile shape.
Right, you're trying to create more depth, but yeah. Some people might like it. I have seen some scenes where it looks okay. So yeah, that doesn't change much. So I don't think you're losing anything by using expression enhancer. By the way, like my splitter let me switch the TVs into my Apple TV into Dolby Vision, and both TVs were like showing green lines and stuff. I was like, oh, let me not do that again. Both of the Samsungs were like, cannot compute. I've never been able to do that before, but like I actually got it to show up.
Yeah, I think it's with a splitter, whatever's plugged into port 1 is what it's going to read. So if you have an LG in port 1, then it'll say that it can.
Yeah. Yeah, the splitter gave me some trouble, man. Like I was trying to figure out so much on it for a while, but it's really, if you're ever having trouble with the splitter, guys, like the best way to do it is just unplug literally everything from the splitter, plug in the source first, and then plug in one TV, second TV, third TV, fourth TV. Otherwise, you're gonna get a whole lot of 1080p only signals, which is annoying. Yeah, I think this scene's really cool. I'm glad you brought it up. Let's do the skin tones next. You said the portrait.
Yeah, maybe you bounce around through here, like you can find skin tones from them standing around.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. We can do that too.
Hey, I'm about to go ahead and drop off right
Okay.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, no
So,
problem, man.
no, I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining.
All right, no problem. Hope everyone have a good one.
Later,
All
man.
right. All right, take
All
care.
right, see you, Max.
All right,
And
later.
I gotta go too. I gotta clock out and stuff.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Later, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. Yeah, that's Max and Classy. I'll definitely make sure their uh channels are linked in the description after this is done. And if you guys don't know about them, go check them out. Their channels are awesome. But I'm pulling up the next scene right now. We're gonna find more skin tones, and let me look through chat. So I'm going to pull up uh, a few demos. Just let that run so I can catch up with chat. So I make sure we don't fall behind on chat. Want to go to gaming? We can go to gaming. Here we go. We'll do this last one with some skin tones. Yeah, when you try to put the TVs into like their brighter modes, you can see like the C3 just it's not there. It's just not it's not gonna be there. So like I'm exposing for the scene here, but you can see the C3 is just falling behind for a scene like this. And we're trying to push brightness still. We are in the cinema home and movie modes here. So let me grab some questions. I want to thank everybody for coming out. You guys are awesome. We still got 135 people watching. Really cool. If you have any questions at all, please make sure to ask them. And if I missed them, ask them again. Because the chat does go pretty fast, and I was trying to focus on the TVs. If you have any questions that you need answered right away, the best way to do it is a super chat, and that also supports the channel. So, thank you. All right, so here's a question in terms of that's probably more of a question for Classy, but in terms of picture accuracy and brightness, which TV is better? For brightness out of the box, the TVs are very similar, especially if you're talking about the accuracy modes. Classy thinks that the S95C is the more accurate TV out of the box. So if you're not getting your TV calibrated and you just want the most accurate thing, filmmaker mode out of the box is going to be the one to go with. Here I just want to say, like, for an example of brightness and skin tones, there's just more depth on the S95C in this scene particularly, which is pretty interesting because a lot of times the dynamic tone mapping brings out the depth a little bit more on the G3, but this scene definitely sticks out to me more on the S95C as everything just seems more evenly lit, and you just have the brightness in areas where you would expect it to be bright, like even like the sun shining off of his face through the trees, things like that. The sun shining on his shirt. Um, Let me try to lower the exposure so you can see what I'm talking about with the brightness on his shirt. You can see on the S95C and on the QN90C how you just have more brightness on the shoulder of his shirt on the right. You can see that there's definitely more light coming in that way. So just a evenly distributed amount of brightness in the right areas is the best way I could explain it. I think that for a scene like this, I would take the S95C over them all. And it's actually brighter too. So it's not always the G3 is not always going to be the brightest. It's just like when you are in super bright scenes, it's going to be the brightest. But to answer your question, Grim Reaper, yes, S95C would be the way to go. All right, let's see. Sorry if we missed your questions. I'm looking through them right now. I'm gonna go ahead and throw on some YouTube demos and look through the chat, and then we're gonna switch to gaming. Okay. So we're gonna throw on these LG YouTube demos while I look through chat. So it's kind of like playing itself. I don't have to control it for ads and stuff like that. So we'll do that, and then we're switching to gaming. And then if we need to do more gaming later, I can do a day 3 on Sunday if you guys want. Where's this set? Let's skip these. Some of these are SDR. This one in particular is SDR. I haven't set the TVs up for SDR yet, but so far it's definitely going to be the QN90C for SDR. I don't know if that's HDR either. All right, so as we let that play, we'll keep them in their brightest modes, so you can kind of see. And let me fix the camera up for you guys so you can see this. Losing some color there. There we go. All right, so let me look through chat here. Find out some questions. There's a lot of questions I see, so I definitely want to make sure we get that right. What do you guys think in chat? Let me know. Do we have a winner so far? Is there one that you like particularly more? And we haven't got to gaming yet, but so far, who do you think won out of all the scenes we've seen today? S95C? Yeah, I would have to say the S95C is giving us the best example of like really great skin tones, a good balance of brightness. And then like, so if you're keeping it in filmmaker mode, I would definitely use the S95C over all of them. G3 is going to be really good for those of you that prefer just to have picture pop all the time. I got that pulled up. Here we go. Yeah, S95C is balanced, right? Like, I agree, SD. There's a really good balance with the S95C. They've improved it over the S95B in terms of just looking great out of the box, and it reminds me of Sony in that way, like where you can just grab a Sony, throw it in the custom. You can just grab an S95C and throw it in the filmmaker or movie mode, and it looks really great. Like, because we didn't even touch on uniformity, which is another factor where worth looking into. When you see these colors here, like on the rings, you'll notice that on the Samsungs you won't see any like color loss where it turns white, but on the LGs you'll see a little bit. On the G3 you won't see as much. On the C3 you will see a lot. And those of you who are like, oh, I can't see stream. Sorry, it's 1080p. I will have a full video with a demonstration just like this, going through some other types of demos and kind of detailing some specific scenes that I think stick out. So I'll work on that. I'm gonna have these TVs set up pretty much all week. So I'll do a dedicated video for this type of comparison too. I just wanted to do something special, stream wise, and answer some questions. Yeah, I think the S90C is gonna be pretty crazy. Like in terms of when it goes on sale, I think you might be looking at some really good deals later on down the line. Um, I don't like what the QN90C is doing to the blue there. Did I accidentally throw it into a different color temperature? No. Okay. It was just like really weird. Um, let's see. S95B feels like it was the beta, and S95C feels like it's complete. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that. I actually heard, people are like, on one side, you hope the G3 gets fixed with a few updates, and then on the other side, you hope the S95C just doesn't get messed up with updates. So in both ways, you're kind of relying on the firmware masters to not mess things up. So it's up to the engineering department that does firmwares to not mess these TVs up, right? Make it worse or make it better. You're relying on them. Your life is in their hands, unless you just want to take it offline, which I mean I don't blame you. But so far so good on the firmware updates. I've been sticking with firmware updates on the S95C, and I haven't seen any real drop offs, so that's good. Again, these are in their non-accurate modes. They're in their home movie modes, where you have dynamic tone mapping turned on while we're looking through questions. Are you getting the QN95C, KG? I will be getting the QN95C. I'm not sure when yet. But it will be a 65-inch, so the fact that it's a 65-inch means that I am limited in the space, so I have to get through these TVs first before I get it. I'll do comparisons still. I'll just have to film in a very dark. I just make my room super dark. I mean, this room is already a dark room, but I'll just make sure the room's dark. The camera settings are the same, and I'll have to note that in the actual video if I do compare it. But I'm taking notes on all of these TVs on certain scenes, and I'm going to use the same type of scenes when I compare, so we can get close to a good representation. I'll have the S95B still to compare it to, and I'll probably have the C3 as well still. I'm not sure. We'll see. But yeah, I do plan on getting it. Next time, please include the S90C. Yeah, I see. Here's the thing about the S90C. I'll probably get that eventually a little bit later. It's going to perform very similar to what you're seeing out of the S95C. It's just a little bit different. And I have an S95B, which is going to be comparable to the S90C. So I'm kind of basing my comparisons on that. And I feel strongly about recommending the S90C based on what I see out of the S95B. And yeah. Hard to tell through a monitor. Yeah, it's definitely hard to tell. Color brightness is going to go to the S95C every time. And the QN90C too. G3 does a really good job though. Oh, there was a demo I was going to show you guys. Let me set it up for you. before we switch to gaming, one last demo. And again, I was trying to look for questions and I was coming up short. Looks like you guys are just having a lot of conversation in chat. So sorry if I didn't see your question. Let's go through these playlists. So I'll just look through HDR demo here. Yeah, there's one in particular that I want to grab where there's like a Miami sunset and you can just really, really tell the differences. Chat has slowed down a little bit, so if you guys have those questions, lay them in. Oh, this is a good question. Which TV has better sound? So the best sound is definitely probably the S95C. To me, has the best sound out of all of them. The worst sound is the C3 and the QN90C. Kind of tied on that sense. The G3 is not great either for sound, honestly. Highly disappointed by that. I was not a big fan of what I saw or what I heard from that. But the S95C is probably the best sound out of them all. But I think the S95B has a better sound than all of the TVs combined. QN90C was better than the G3. I might have to set it up a little bit different. I only heard it briefly. But yeah, probably. The G3 is not really great with sound. Let me speed it up to like where it says TV wallpaper. Sorry guys, thank you for bearing with me. All right, we're gonna throw up a couple of scenes here. So I just want you to focus on the sun there. I'm gonna drop the ISO, or sorry, yeah, I guess I should drop the ISO too. I'll drop the exposure so you can kind of see the dark area there, highlight. You see how nice and beautiful orange it is on the S95C. It's just keeping it. And on the G3, it's nice, but it is starting to get white around the sun. Same thing. The C3 is just like not really showing much color at all, honestly. And then the QN90C looks really great too for this scene. So quantum dots, guys. That is a big factor here. I'll go on to the next scene. This won't take long to switch to this. I really, really like this demo for showing off like color brightness. It is a still image. So I mean, it's not a still image. I paused it. But like, let's see. Raise this back up. So again, try to focus in on the middle of the clouds here. You see how the S95C is keeping the color. And even with MLA, the G3 still loses some color, but not as much as the C3. The C3 loses most of its color. So yeah, like you everything that you throw at the S95C, it comes out shining. So that's one of the things where if you like color brightness, if that's what you're after, and I mean, what are you buying the more expensive TVs for anyway? It might be for that extra amount of color brightness that you can't get out of other OLED TVs, you know? Oh, this is a really good example. Okay, so here we have a sunset or a sunrise. It might be a sunset, but you got the QN90C probably pulling ahead the most here, but not by much. The S95C is doing really good. And then you have the G3 doing really good as well, but the C3 is not doing too great there. Here we go. Here's another one. Now pay attention to the colors. There you go. You can see that once again you are having a little bit more white on the G3 than the S95C. So you're losing colors right above the clouds. As you can see, there's like a good amount of orange above the clouds there, but it's starting to fade into white on the G3. On the S95C, it's really nice, pretty gradient. QN90C looks great too. All right, this demo is almost over. Then we'll pull in some gaming and wrap it up. Here's another example of the sunset there. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it into filmmaker mode and see if there's any difference. Filmmaker mode just looks so much better on this scene in particular. There's so much more dynamic range. That's why, like, if I got the S95C, I probably wouldn't even use active tone mapping, to be honest with you. And I've said this before. I just think that the static tone mapping is fine. On the S95C, you're getting everything out of the TV that you could possibly hope for most of the time. There's no reason to really need to drive it to its knees or anything. You can if you want to, but there's really no need to. I think I've lost the C3 remote. Nope. Maybe. Okay, so we got this. Oh, it's on the ground. It's on the ground. There you go. So yeah, what do you guys think of this scene? It's pretty nice, huh? How about we before we switch into game mode, I want you to see this. Filmmaker mode. Oh, you know what? You're right. So this the C3 hasn't been looking great because I probably haven't. Nope, never mind. I did. I switched it. We're good. C3 is just not able to compete with these other TVs with the scenes like this. That's all. So you can see, and filmmaker mode, there's a big difference. There's just way more depth in filmmaker mode for a scene like this. And so that's the trade-off. You're getting more brightness out of the picture with dynamic tone mapping, but at what cost? And that cost is gonna have to be up to you, because I feel like you do lose a lot of like dynamic range when you start to use tone mapping, the dynamic tone mapping, so to speak. It's just more natural too. So somebody was asking to switch from filmmaker mode to game mode on this particular one. Sure. So you can see since this is interesting. So since the C3 is trying to drive this highlight so much to the sense that it turns white, you're actually getting your color back once you switch to game optimizer, because you're not getting as much color vibrancy. So that could be one of the reasons why they disabled it for game mode, because they know that you're going to be playing much more brighter games. So that could be a reason why they do it. So I don't know if you guys can see that on the camera there, but you are definitely losing that. So when you switch back and forth, it's just that it can't deliver that same vibrancy. You just lose a lot of the vibrancy, but you get the color back. So like there's a trade-off there, right? So I'm going to keep it in game optimizer here. Let's go to the game optimizer on the G3. And now we're going to switch to games right after this. So you can see there's not as much color drop off on the G3, but there is a drop off. So when I make it really, really dark, you can see the Samsungs are the ones that are making this scene particularly brighter when we are in the darkest exposure. All right, now I'm going to switch to the Xbox. All right. Okay, I am back. I gotta switch all these TVs into game mode. Hold on. 1 second. It's really dark. I gotta get my controller for my Xbox. 1 second. All right, sorry about that, guys. I'm back. So we have this Forza screenshot thing people were asking to see earlier. So I showed this on Twitter, but you can see another example of it here. There's that. Oh, this one's really good to check out. So I gotta change the modes here. We're in auto power because it's the first time I was in game. Let's change the color temperature down to 150 to match. Energy saving. Make sure all that's off. Cool. All right. G3, let's put that into game optimizer. I believe it's already in game optimizer. Yes. So next, S95C, gotta throw that into the game mode. Put that on. We'll go ahead and use original since we're doing HGIG at the moment, I believe. I have to change the tone mapping here. Static. Okay, weird. Why wouldn't it let me change? So it usually lets you change this even in original. Why doesn't it let me change that? Are we still? Did we just like hit a bug? What's going on here? No. Weird. I've never been locked out of changing the tone mapping. Unless I'm mistaken. But okay. So there's that. It's on static. Let's throw this one into game mode really quick. Huh. Maybe does original just lock you? Classy? I swear I could change it before. Like, maybe not. If that's the case, then that's fine. And then we are there for that. I don't know why they look so much brighter. What are we missing here? Why is there such a big brightness difference? Maybe it's just that way. Sorry guys, I'm trying to figure out why the G3 looks the way it looks right now. Let's throw that back up there. So here's a thing with the bug. There's a bug with the G3 where it keeps resetting my pixel light too. Back down to 90. I don't know why it does that, but I wish it didn't. I'm gonna check my white balance now too because. Hey, what's up?
What? I wasn't paying attention. What were you asking me?
Oh, does original lock you in the static?
I believe so. I haven't tried to change it. The whole point of original is to make it as accurate as possible, but you
Right.
have to use 4000 nit on the console when you use it.
Oh, okay. So
right. You're not going to really
do that.
get too much of a one-to-one comparison like that.
I'll try to use basic then.
If you were to do that and you set the console to 4000, you'd have to set the LGs into Filmmaker with the dynamic tone mapping off, and then they should be somewhat comparable.
You know what? I see what's happening here. I think I hit an issue with my Xbox and the splitter. I don't think we're hitting HDR right now. Oh, yeah, we are. What the heck? Weird.
Yeah, so what is your Xbox set to?
1500 or no, 1400.
Yeah, I'd change that to 4000.
Okay. But won't that mess up the blowout highlights on the G3 and stuff?
No, because you can just put those in Filmmaker just so you get the full color.
Oh, okay, sure. Let's do that then. Is that 4,000? So if anybody plays with filmmaker mode on their G3 or C3, they should do 4,000 on these?
That's I calibrated mine, so I can't test it exactly.
Oh,
But did
okay.
it clip? Did it clip for you right there at 4,000, or was it clipping before 4,000?
Let me check.
Just put them in FilmMaker with the game optimizer on, and then dynamic tone mapping off, and then just see where it's. It should be 4,000 or around 4,000.
Okay. Throw a filmmaker. Gotta put on ALLM or else it's gonna
Yeah.
be slow.
Also, if you didn't know, the AI brightness is on by default in game mode on the LGs.
Oh, okay. I'll check that. I think I turned off AI stuff, but there's always like things where things get turned back on too, so. Mine's off.
Weird for me, it's always on by default.
I might have turned it off. Okay. So I think I'm good. So where are they clipping at? They're clipping at. Well, the Samsungs don't clip.
They should around like 41, I think, somewhere around there.
No.
But you usually set them to 4,000.
Okay.
But is that where the filmmaker is, or is filmmaker clipping before that?
Yeah, filmmaker's clipping at about 4,000. QN90C is not clipping until about 9,900, and same with that.
Okay, yeah, that one's different though.
No, the S95C is like that too.
No, the S95C for me, it's about 4,100 when it's an original.
Yeah, usually it is like that for me too. Let me see if there's something on that's bugging it out. Do you use HDR 10 plus gaming at all? That doesn't do anything on these TVs, right? I know the S95B, it has like a slight effect, but
I have that off, and with the original, it's going to turn that off anyway, or it should.
yeah. So no, now it's switched to active. Okay, so here's the thing. So you can switch between active and static with original. That's probably why they
Okay.
weren't disappearing.
Yeah, with it on static, it should be around, like I said, 4,000, 4,100, something like that.
Yeah. It's just that Forza for a second was like dead set on being an SDR. Probably just because I switched the input so fast. All right, now we should be even across the board. Sorry about the troubleshooting, guys. Brighten that up. I know you don't want to stare at an Xbox screen the whole time, but let's go through this together. So 4,000 should clip.
Yeah, it should be really faint at 4 and then gone at 41, but you just leave it at 4.
Yeah, it fades around. Wow. This one's fading at 1800, dude.
What is? Which one?
The S95C.
And you sure game HDR is off? You're an original?
I thought I just checked that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
just
I'm an
hold
original. Yeah, see? Original.
Check the yeah.
It's weird. It's clipping at 1800.
And you're on 11.23 firmware.
Yep. Huh. It's pretty odd, huh?
Yeah, it should be 4,000.
Weird. The QN90C definitely clips at 4,000 or close to 4,000, about 4,500. We'll just clip it to where the G3 is. Yeah, you're right. 4,000 is good. We'll just do 4,000 on both. Yeah, it's
Go
weird.
check contrast and stuff, because whatever it is in SDR is what it'll be in HDR on the S95C when you're in original.
Yeah. I mean, I might have run into a bug or something, or everything's the same, dude. Nothing seems off, right? Like, to you?
You know, it should be at 4,000 then.
No, definitely like disappears. Weird. Hey, you never know with TVs, right? They do weird things sometimes. So let me make sure they didn't revert me on their firmware updates. That doesn't happen. But
Also, for the heck of it, check the energy
yeah,
saving.
1123. Oh, energy saving? Yeah, you might be right. It could be something with that. Nope. Very odd. All right. Let's start back up Forza. Let me reset it so that we get the fresh, clean start. All right, so now we are in even modes for all of them.
Yeah, except it's blowing. I can tell it's blowing out, isn't it, on the S95C?
About to find out.
It looked like it was on that load screen. I'd say maybe toggle
the
the game
exposure was
HDR on
mad
and off.
high, so that's probably why. No. Toggle what now?
I'd say maybe just toggle the either go from original to standard and then back to original, or just go turn game HDR on and off.
Okay. It looks fine, honestly.
Okay, it's weird because it should have clipped at 4,000 in original.
I can check again now that I switched the toggle. I mean, either way, it should be set, right?
Yeah, if it looks about the same as the rest, then it's fine.
G3 is brighter than the rest. Is that normal?
Yeah, that's probably going to be a bit brighter, but you're going to not, I don't know. It's not going to have the super defined highlights that it would have with HGIG.
Right.
And also make sure that it's not in dynamic tone mapping if you didn't already.
Yeah, we're good on that. But double checking, because you know they like to reset literally everything. It says user settings, but let's double check. Yeah, we're good. Let's go for a little bit of a drive. I have a couple of good games to try out. I've got a good game to test Shadow Detail now too. Ghostwire Tokyo, pretty cool for Shadow Detail. It always loads me up at night when I wanted to be in the brightness, but night's fine because it shows pretty decently on camera. Yeah, so
And then on the QN90C, you might need to bump the ST2084 +1.
okay. It's weird that it's under bright. It's under tracking, or what?
Yeah, just a little bit.
It's so unlike Samsung. In a game like this, I think they all look very similar. G3 definitely looks brighter than all of them though. Input lag wise, like I can't tell a difference. So it's gonna be fairly similar, huh? With ALLM.
Yeah, it's either the same or it's only a few milliseconds added. So I have a custom made input lag tester coming. It's just not here yet. But yeah, it's as long as ALLM is on, that's all that's really needed to make it low input lag.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, if you're not using HGIG or you're not trying to buy the TV for HGIG, then the G3 still can be a really great gaming TV. And I said that in my review as well. There's workarounds. Game mode's
'Cause I
not a
mean,
lost
technically the
cause.
HGIG isn't great on either, so just
Right.
forget about HGIG at this point and use them like this. And they're
Yeah.
pretty similar.
So what's wrong with the HGIG on the LG? Just the color loss?
Yeah, well, just being in the game mode, you don't get
Yeah.
all the colors are basically throttled.
Yeah. Like you would see it here. How they look almost all the same here, except for the C3 is definitely losing some. But
And
if
there shouldn't
I
be as
switch,
much crushing on the
right,
G3 in the game mode, but with the filmmaker, with ALM or whatever, that's still going to have some. But there's one thing I
yeah,
noticed was in game mode, the shadows were a little bit brighter.
I think my shadow detail on my G3 is actually pretty decent. It's comparable to the S95C. I know FOMO was saying he didn't like the G3 shadow detail, but I see they're very
It's
similar.
only the very, very bottom end that's has
Oh,
some
okay.
crushing.
Yeah. So you can see like the yellow there loses some color. All right. I see what you mean though by the 4,000 nits thing. Once I switched to game mode, everything got blown out. So I can't do the toggle trick for you guys. Yeah, they look pretty similar across the board here. Let's do Ghostwire so you can really see some shadow detail.
And did you download Sea of Thieves?
It wouldn't let me. I don't know what's up with that. Yeah, I was getting some sort of Xbox error. I got Gears. I don't know if I finished downloading, but for some really dark shadows.
All right, I gotta head out.
Oh, I can see what you mean here. Yeah, the vent's a little harder to see. All right, man.
Yep, I'll talk to you later. Have a good one, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Later. So can you guys see this on camera here? The vent within the shadows there, definitely crushed on the G3. It's hard to see. Where on the, let me try to raise it up so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. That vent, you see that vent right over there? It gets crushed quite a bit, so harder to see. And the QN90C crushes it completely. C3 is, don't even, I can't even see it on the C3. So S95C's shadow detail is really good. Really, really good. Let me drop that back down. Here's a really cool area. Nice and red. Grab the details for you guys here. All right. Let me catch up with chat here. See what you guys are doing in chat. I did get a super chat from Oz Gamer. Thank you for the super chat. It says, "Hey, Classy, can we use Filmmaker mode for gaming on the S95B? PS5 ALLM on game mode is under tracking on S95B right now." Yeah, it's a good question to ask, Classy. So the way that the ALLM works on the G3 seems to be a little bit different than how like Samsung does it. Samsung, when it's on auto, seems to lock you into game mode, but I can see if there's any workaround to that. Let me scroll up, see if I missed anything else. Don't want to leave you guys hanging. All right, so there's that. All right, let me get caught up with these questions now. So caught up on super chats, caught up on that. So the game mode, is it in game mode now? No, it's in filmmaker mode right now. Game mode's not something I can currently suggest for the G3, so we're not going to use game mode for the G3 at all. There's no downsides to using filmmaker mode, really, unless you need HGIG, and there's no reason to use HGIG with the color loss, to be honest with you. So, yeah. Now let's go to a different game. Peeked around in that. Hockey's good to see like uniformity. Yeah, I agree, SB. Anybody that's going to buy either of these TVs are not going to be disappointed at all. But the C3 is not going to be like a huge step up from previous like OLEDs like C1, C2. No, I wouldn't do that. But like if you go to a S95C or a G3, yeah, I could definitely see the reasoning behind it. Here is like a no contest in terms of uniformity. So I can see some DSE on the QN90C already. See if I can get that on camera somehow. Can I get it on camera? Let's go back to that. All right, here we got back in the free cam. All right, so I just want to see if you guys can see the DSE on screen. Can you see it? There's a little bit of DSE on the QN90C. And by a little bit, I mean there is definitely some noticeable lines across the screen. Not the crosshatch pattern that I usually see, but there's definitely, I'd say like the top part of the screen on the QN90C, there's some lines across, causing some dirty screen effect. Is it blurry? Did I mess it up? Is it blurry? Yeah, you're right. It might just be the stream. Try to get a little bit better for you guys. All right, there's that. So yeah, you could see the DSE on the stream, I could tell. It's not gonna be super noticeable though. I'll probably have to just put that in the video. But as you zoom out and zoom in, there's no doubt about it. There's more uniformity issues on all the TVs except for the S95C, which is super clean. There's some clouding and tinting on the G3. I can see a little bit of pink on the right corner of the screen, just a little bit, a tad bit tinting. And the C3, it's just really cloudy in comparison to the G3. So a lot of that could just be ABL kicking in as soon as I zoom in on the white. So like, as soon as we make it a bigger white screen, you do get the actual ABL kicking in when that happens. Let's go to another game. Let's see. Oh, we'll test out the Elden Ring. I should have that updated. KJ, you just invented the best DSE testing method. I mean, yeah, you could just use a hockey game and go to instant replay. I should probably just make a video about it. People could use it. It's not a bad idea. Thanks for the suggestion. Ford, thank you for the super chat. He says, I have to ask, what is your TV now? I don't understand how many YouTubers can afford these TVs so frequently. A lot of us aren't keeping the TVs. They're either loaners or they're just going to be TVs we sell off. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate the question. I get the question all the time. The TV that I'm having in my house right now is the A80J 77-inch is my main TV that I watch. The S95B is my bedroom TV, but it's currently in here. So I'm not really using a bedroom TV at the moment. I have a Vizio in there, but that's not really being used, to be honest with you. I'm watching more on my phone than anything else when I'm in my bedroom. And then I have a C1 48-inch as my computer monitor. Thank you for the question, and thank you for the super chat, Ford. Yeah, it's going to be definitely harder to see stuff on stream, and I get that, but that's why I thank you guys for like bearing with that quality. Of course, we're going to make a full video about it, but I wanted to have a conversation and do a little special event for you guys, because who else is doing this, So like, I'm trying my best to give you guys the top-notch results that I can give you when it comes to these kind of things. So hopefully you enjoy. I kind of want to transport to a different area because we're in a cave right now. There's like no shadow detail at all on the C3. I forgot to get out. Oh. I haven't played this game in so long. And I've just playing the Wo Long, so my hands are used to Wo Long controls. I think there's a teleporter somewhere around here. Oh no, I was going the right way. I remember now. I'll probably do a second part of this on Sunday, just because I know we didn't hit enough gaming today, and I want to do the Nintendo Switch as well. So a lot of people have been asking about upscaling and the Nintendo Switch and SDR differences. So I want to make sure I touch on that. You can't really use the Nintendo Switch in filmmaker mode because there is no ALLM on the Nintendo Switch. But I can see if I can get it to work. I don't think that you'll be able to do that. So those of you wanting SDR gaming to be super bright and you're playing Switch, that's going to be a tough ask. So I really don't know where the elevator is. Trying to get out of here so I can transport to a better area. All right. Am I blind? Am I missing the elevator here? Am I just like, yeah, I haven't played this in so long. Should just let him kill me. All right, we're just gonna quit out of it. We're gonna go to a little bit of a brighter game. So we've been streaming for 3 hours, and it's a little bit longer than I wanted to stream for, but that's fine. Let's just keep going. Thank you, Ford, for the super chat. Nice, man. I was just curious. You guys prioritize tech for your channel. I get it. It makes sense. Cheers from Buffalo, man. Yeah, I think it was a great question, Ford. So I have no problem answering it. Thank you. Good black levels on the QN90C. Yeah, there's no problem with the black levels on the QN90C. The problems are just when there's light involved within those blacks. Then you have, potential blooming, which is what people, probably overblow a little bit. It's there. It's just a downside of an LCD TV, and you can't really get around it. And there's not an LCD TV that's just gonna have no blooming. It doesn't exist. So that's just one of the downsides you have to deal with the LCD TVs, but there's nothing wrong with the blacks. Like, there's never been anything really wrong with the blacks. But it's like, did you see, like, look at the loading screen there? Did you see how the white text just was like super dim? That's to avoid blooming. And that's why the QN90C's text was so much dimmer on there. Exactly. Yeah, there's no reason to be in game mode on the G3. If you have the option to use ALLM with the console that you're using or the source that you're using, then absolutely. Like, there's no reason to be in game mode. I remember your video on the QN90B versus C2. C2 had the gray sight still pop, whereas the 90B was dimmed. Yeah, that's a good example of it, where you will see elements that should be bright, but they just get dimmed down because it's trying to not bloom that area. Okay, so let's not go in there because we'll die. So here's a nighttime scene where the QN90C particularly usually doesn't do good in these types of scenes, but it's doing a fine job in my opinion right now. But I can tell you are starting to lose color, and it's dimming down brighter objects so they don't bloom when you are in a darker scene. So they got a new dimming algorithm that is smart and tries to avoid the blooming as much as possible, but they're still blooming. There's nothing you can do, but it's not going to be egregious, and it's not going to mess up your gameplay session. You'll have more like a haziness sometimes in night scenes. But like when it's like this, it's not too bad. The problem is if it gets darker than this, then you start to run into a little bit more issues with the QN90C. Yeah, blooming is just kind of overblown, I think. It's there though. There's definitely blooming there. It's just one of those things you kind of learn to live with. Like here's a good example. Like we'll go super dark. you can see how the light is super dim in the background, that little flame. But on the LGs, it still shines pretty good. Yeah, I can play Madden. Greg, sure, I can throw Madden real quick. I should have it updated to the latest update. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, let's switch into Madden for you. I'll show you the games I have installed, and then we can do a part 2 to this Sunday if you guys want. Just let me know if I get enough people saying yes. Then we'll go for it. That's not how cameras really work. So there's different ways to control the camera, and ISO just is going to raise the actual like levels here. If you want to change and be able to see into the darker areas, changing the exposure by changing the aperture, that's going to be the best way to see into the details and stuff. There's not just like one camera control that raises everything. Some people think so, but that's not the case. Not happy. I canceled my pre-order of my new TV. Delivery time up to 8 weeks. Oh man. That's crazy. That sucks. Yeah. Well, you know, if you don't need the HGIG, I'm gaming right now in filmmaker mode and it works just fine. So yeah, if you're willing to give up HGIG, you set your console to 4000 nits. Nothing wrong with it. It looks fine. I don't see any big issues with it. I did not mean to load into Ultimate Team. I did not. It's my bad. I just wanted to get straight into a game. It's hard to see blooming on a stream. I can tell you right now, I see it on the logos and stuff on loading screens, but who cares, right? Like if I pull up the menu on the QN90C, I see tons of blooming. So you can see it too. Apparently Madden sucks still. Yeah, like Madden. When does Madden not suck? For a while, right? Like I can't remember the last Madden that was good. You can see there's a little bit of blooming on the menu, but who cares if it's on the menu? I don't personally care. There's going to be blooming on every menu screen when you load that up. It's all about, is it in real content? Barely. Is it in like OLED demos, things like that? Yeah, you can see it. Nighttime scenes, you can definitely see it. Will it bother you? I think it depends on how sensitive you are to it. So you wanted me to turn on the tone mapping, the active. Sure, we can do it. So I'm gonna use bright. I'm gonna go ahead and use dynamic tone mapping on all of these now. That did nothing. That did like nothing on the C3 for that. Let's see what it does on the G3. Okay, brightens it up a little bit. Now we got to do the S95C as I get a lot of penalties. Sorry. So for this, S95C is super bright. So that's what I'm saying. You can't. The S95C is probably have like the game mode is probably one of the brightest modes already. So even at in original, it's gonna be fine. So I'm gonna take this up the gut with Javonte Williams. Okay, I'm gonna get stuffed. I haven't played Madden in a while either. Let's run Jerry Judy on a drag right here. Okay, pick up a couple yards. Kick a field goal. No, I'm not gonna kick a field goal. I should kick a field goal, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna try to zoom in on the players here a little bit. Actually, let's go into instant replay because that's probably a good way to look at the camera. So, yeah, I just think as good as the G3 is, there's still not a match for it in game mode. So, there's that. They both look good. Like, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to like full screen brightness, game mode, it's the S95C. Like, yeah, S95C slaps in this game. It really does. It really, really does. Like, wow. That's crazy. Now I want to double check the G3 because it seems like the G3 is like what are we doing? What are we doing, G3? No, that's so energy saving is not on. I expected more out of the G3's brightness, to be honest with you here. Expression enhancer. It helps a little bit, but it's still not on the same level. You just can't like active brightness, game mode. I mean, I think the results kind of just speak for themselves, right? My goodness. So if you play a lot of Madden, S95C is your TV. It's on, dude. It's honestly brighter than the QN90C, which in this game did not expect. QN90C is the second brightest of all these. Man, that's crazy. So the QN90C, it's still bright. The S95C is just super bright too, and it can just hold its own too. When you get the self-lit pixels to be as bright as an LCD TV, your self-lit TV is going to look brighter than your LCD TV. Just the way that the lighting works, just the way that the backlighting works. You're just going to have brightness everywhere as opposed to brightness in certain areas. And so they're not that dim in real life. They're more like this. I just wanted to show you guys the exposure differences, but yeah, you can see even when I raise the exposure, I start to like blow out the S95C. Camera can't even really show. And the S95C is further away too. So that's a good example of a really bright game. Let's go to Ori. It's another one. This is definitely a hard game to see on camera. But here we go. You can see that they're doing a little bit better job here. Probably depends on how the game itself was graded too, I would imagine. Let me drop the exposure all the way for you guys so I can show you the detail in the sun. So it's hard to see on camera. It actually looks like the sun's blending in with the rings, but that's not the case. There's definitely more detail on the G3, but you're losing color around the sun. But not too bad. But if I switch it to game optimizer, you would see the difference, but then it will blow out the image because we're at 4,000 nits. So let me do that for you real quick. See if we can see the difference. So yeah, you can kind of see it on camera. So there's game optimizer. And then there's filmmaker mode. So you can see that we're losing brightness on the G3 for that. So that's why we're using filmmaker mode. All the TVs look really good on this scene. But the colors on the C3 there's definitely more white in the colors, which is a good indicator that you're losing colors. C3 is green around the sun. Yeah. It wasn't too bad in person, but now we're going to do the image retention test real quick because I'm curious to see how that works. Let's go home. Actually, let's go to settings. So one of the better ways to do the image retention test is to just throw this up here on a white screen like that. Let's make sure we get it as white as possible. So I'm gonna make sure that I just make sure that it's all white on all of them. Of course, you're not gonna see image retention on the QN90C, but let's see. I'm gonna let it sit there for a second. Cameras don't capture blooming as well as eyes do. I mean, you can, if the TV is the only thing being filmed, I can definitely show blooming a little bit. You can see it in a lot of my videos on the QN90C. But again, it's like blooming is so overblown on every TV. I'm not just saying that for the QN90. I'm saying every LCD TV blooming is a little bit overblown. There are more TVs that have more blooming than others, sure. But if blooming is a concern, I think you're looking at the wrong TVs. Yeah, the original preset plus the 4,000 nits is the move. It is the move. All right, so image retention. All right, you guys can see it? Oh no, hold up, you can't see it. Now you can see it. All right. Perfect square on the C3. Little fuzzy squares on the S95C and the G3. So you notice how there's not a square on the LCD TV? Well, that's because there's no image retention on the LCD TV. So yeah, look at the square in the middle of the screen so you can see it. It almost looks like there's like a window reflecting off the TV, but no, that's the remaining of that white window that I just showed. So you can see how fast it goes away. It's already gone on the S95C. I can see it a little bit more on the G3 here, and I can still see it on the C3. On the camera, we can still see it on the S95C a little bit. So yeah, you're still seeing a little bit of that image retention. Now it looks like visibly to my eyes, there's not much difference. Camera's still showing it a little bit. But when we're at like normal exposure, you can see that it's mostly gone. C3, I can still visibly see a little bit. G3, I can still visibly see it a little bit. So I think I would say the S95C clears it up a little bit faster. As we go to a higher exposure, you can see the S95C has faded it a little bit more. Which is pretty interesting that the G3 doesn't clear it up faster, you know, because it has a heat sink and all that. Very interesting. Here's actually a really good example of like the greenish in the gray and black areas of the screen. Sometimes you can see a little bit of green on the G3 and the C3, but not to the same degree, I would say. All right, let's load up another super bright game. All right. So Gears still downloading. It says it's ready to start though. See if these actually shows queued now. All right, I'll do Sea of Thieves on Sunday. If we stream Sunday. If I get enough people that say they want the stream on Sunday, that's what you get. This is more of a darker game. But I can get to some brighter areas. Do a CNN logo for 3 months. Yeah. Okay. I would. But I'm not quite there on that one yet. So you can see the white screens are always like super bright on the QN90C. That's because ABL kicks in so much. Here is a great example of QN90C is really, really slapping on this game. On this loading screen here. On the start screen, I should say. Can't even speak. Like raise this exposure so you can see it. All right, so we're gonna go into a brighter area here. How many scenes have full on snow though? Oh, I got a level that has crazy snow. I just gotta remember which one it is. It's actually in this game. Let me bring it up. Thanks for reminding me on that one. So here's a good example of brightness on the S95C. Color brightness. Look at the C3. Look at the G3. I mean, S95C kind of speaks for itself. QN90C is not too far behind. Hey, you see the difference there? Like in person, it's even like more of a difference. I've said this before, but it looks like you have like direct like light strips on the TV just driving it. It's crazy. Like you almost have neon in the TV for some of these brighter highlights on the S95C. So that's kind of like the separation of QD-OLED there, in my opinion. When you can separate like that, you're doing something right. Yeah, so let's go to that area with the snow. All right. I believe I want to say it's this one. It's a main battlefield. Snow. All right, so that's the first level, second level, third level. What that? I think it's this one. So the heatsink isn't living up to the hype. Yeah, it doesn't seem like the heatsink does that much to help the G3, or maybe it does. And it's why we can see it driven the way it is. So, yeah, I mean, I think without the heatsink, the G3 probably couldn't get to the level that it can get to, because the C3 is not seeing it. So we're gonna go to some white here. I believe this is a snow level. A little bit of snow. So yeah, like the S95C is kind of blinding me almost with the snow. You can kind of see the difference there in the brightness of the snow. QN90C is pretty bright as well. Here's where you can see the camera white balance differences. It's always going to be a little bit different. There's probably a better level to show you that, actually. Get to all the bright areas as we run through all the shadows. I don't want to be in the shadows. So you can kind of see a little bit more of the snow here. It's gonna look dimmer on StreamYard. There's like nothing I can do about it. I don't know, I don't think the burn-in tests are going to tell you what your TV or long-term goal is going to be. Like, I don't think it's going to show you burn-in what your TV is going to really look like, in a few months, because it's too much of a stress test. And who's really going to watch CNN that much, or keep it on ESPN? I just think that it's not feasible, and I don't know if they're running it on CNN as like a live feed, or is it just like a tape of CNN without commercials? Because that's something that I was wondering. But I think CNN, the ticker still stays on through commercials. Is that true? I don't watch CNN. I haven't watched CNN in so long. Yeah, I would say that's safe to say the S95C is the king of games. It is the king of games. But that's not really a surprise, is it? I told you guys the S95B was the king of games last year, and it's still easy. It still can push the same, almost to the same level. Not to this degree, but S95B can get close, if not brighter than the G3 on this scene for sure. I've tested it, and I'll definitely do a side by side with those two as well. But yeah, QD-OLED just can get to a different level, and G3 can get close, but with games, I don't think it's a contest. Now, real content, you saw how much I like the G3 in real content. I really do enjoy the G3 in real content. But there's a better area to show snow off. I just gotta die real quick. Get on me. All right. All right, where we at here? Hey, we are in filmmaker mode. So we are in filmmaker mode for both the C3 and G3 in order to get the best performance out of the TV. And we have the ALM so that we have the low input lag. I'm doing everything. This is not game mode. So like the G3, C3 are not in game mode. The QN90C is in game mode and the S95C is in game mode. All right, so one more level of this really quickly. Here we go. I believe this is it. Yeah, that works with low input lag. So that's the great thing about the ALLM feature on the G3. If your console supports ALLM, you're going to have the low input lag. Can you do ALLM and not game mode on Samsung? Let's find out. So I'll go ahead and throw it in filmmaker mode. Actually, we'll go movie mode because we have tone mapping on, and I'll tell you if there's any input lag difference. So here's lots of white. Is it doable? So left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, down. Jump, jump. Fairly responsive. Yeah, I'd say you can still do it. You can do the same thing, but why would you? Because game mode just looks brighter and better than them. So, but I guess like it's a workaround for other things like the S95B, if particularly you don't want to be in game mode and you want filmmaker mode, for example. But I guess that would just be the other thing. And then you just set it till your console clips on filmmaker mode, and there you have it. But on the S95C, there's no reason to not use game mode. It's just really good. Game mode, and then right now we're on original, but you could even we're on original, but I did change the tone mapping. So, but just for this example. But like, say you make your own presets or whatever, and you don't want accuracy, you can just like make your own. Don't use RPG. Do you see? This is essentially the dynamic mode of. This is essentially the dynamic mode of freaking game mode is sports. Like, look how blue it is. Like, I feel like I just messed my TV up. Like, what did I just do to my TV? Oh no. So yeah, don't use blue or sports. I just called it blue, but that's what it does. Original is a good example. Original has its own set mode stuff. So, but I mean, look at the snow. This level is ridiculously white. It clips in game too, so it's not like the TV's clipping here. It's just in game it clips as well. I'm sure if you set the HDR differently, but that'll mess up every other level. But just so you can see, you know, a little bit of difference there. Well, yeah, it's too blue because I had it in sports mode. All right, it is 9:45, so I'm gonna have to end this. If you guys want me to do a part 2, tell me in the comments. And also, yeah, after the stream is over, leave a comment saying you want part 2 on Sunday, and I'll do a part 2 of just gaming. And if we have time, we'll do other stuff as well that day. But yeah, if you want part 2, leave a comment saying you want part 2 so I know to do a part 2. Otherwise, this is it. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate you so much. Let me scroll through chat, make sure I didn't miss anything for super chats and a couple of questions that need to be answered. And I'm sorry if I did miss your question. Having my eyes on the TV can be kind of a hassle. I did miss a super chat from Ford. Sorry about that. He says I have to ask, what is your TV now? Oh, no, I answered that one. All right. Yep, still have the A80J. So to go back to this one, can you use ALLM? Yes, you can, and I'll probably make a video talking about it and see how the results are. If I can get a good example out of the S95B, we'll talk about it. Let me see. Any last second questions, guys? If not, I'm going to wrap it up. And show you. They're all bright here. I think the G3 looks pretty bright too. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for tuning in. I went a little bit longer than I thought. But yeah, if you want part 2, put it in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. And if you buy your next TV, make sure you do use the affiliate links to help out the channel. That helps a lot. I also have a membership that will support the channel as well. Thank you guys as always, and I'll see you next time.